My beloved, pause everything. Yes, right now, and listen, because I am speaking directly to the deepest part of you. Look at me. I've been waiting for this moment with you, not as a gentle suggestion, but as a divine interruption meant to shake you awake. You have wandered through days heavy with questions you never voiced, burdens you've carried alone, and silent battles no one saw. This moment is not random. I have drawn you here with intention, urgency, and love, because what I am about to reveal has the power to change the entire course of your life. Look at me, beloved. Yes, you, right now where you are. I am calling you into this moment with me. Before your alarm sounded, before your thoughts began to race, before the weight of the day settled onto your shoulders, I was already here, leaning toward you, waiting for this exact breath you are taking. You think you simply ended up here, reading, listening, wondering, but I have been gently weaving you toward this pause, this holy interruption where I can finally whisper what your soul has been aching to hear. You move through your days surrounded by noise, by expectations, by the constant pull of what's next, but in the middle of all that, my voice has been reaching for you, softly at first, then deeper, calling, look at me. I've been waiting for this moment with you. I am not distant from your routine. I am present in it, watching the way you wake up tired and go to bed drained, watching the way you push yourself even when your heart is weary. You often imagine that I am only interested in your prayers when they are polished, your worship when it feels strong, your faith when it has no cracks. But I have been longing for you, exactly as you are in this precise moment, confused, hopeful, exhausted, searching. I have seen every sigh you could not put into words, every time you said, I'm fine, while inside you felt like you were barely holding it together. I have been there in the background of your thoughts, the gentle nudge you almost ignored, the quiet pull you felt when part of you wanted to shut down, and another part of you wished someone would just notice you, truly notice you. I noticed. I always notice. Nothing about you gets lost in the crowd with me. I saw the way you pushed through yesterday, and the day before that, and the weeks that felt like a blur. I saw the smile you forced when your heart was heavy. I saw the moment you considered giving up on something you once prayed for. I saw the questions you carry but rarely voice. Do you see me, God? Do you still care? Are you still here? And this is my answer to you. Yes, I see you. Yes, I care more deeply than you can imagine. Yes, I am here. And I have been here all along, waiting patiently for you to turn your gaze from everything that drains you and simply look at me. I am not calling you into this moment to scold you for your distance or to remind you of all the times you forgot me. I am calling you to draw close, to breathe, to let your soul remember what it feels like to be fully seen and completely in love. I am more interested in your heart than your performance, more delighted by your honest weakness than by your attempt to appear strong without me. This moment is not about you impressing me, it is about you receiving me. Let this be the place where you stop running on empty and start letting my presence refill you. Right here, as you are, you have my full attention. I am not distracted. I am not divided. I am not pacing the floors of heaven in frustration with you. I am seated, steady, sure, and my eyes are fixed on you with a love that does not flicker. Feel the weight of that for a moment. The God who formed you, who has carried you, who has protected you even from dangers you never saw, is now leaning in, saying, look at me. I have been waiting for this moment with you, and I will not waste it. If you will stay with me here, heart open, I will begin to show you things about myself and about you that you have longed to know but were too tired, too busy, or too afraid to ask. Feel the weight of this truth settling over your heart. I know the exact places inside you where exhaustion has carved its quiet pathways, and I speak to you with full awareness of what you have been carrying alone. You push yourself through responsibilities that offer little space to exhale, and you often question whether anyone truly notices the strain beneath your steady exterior. Yet I have watched those moments when you wake with a heaviness that lingers even after sleep, when you manage to function outwardly while battling an internal fatigue you rarely admit. You sometimes wonder why your spirit feels so overloaded, and you assume you should be able to shoulder everything without faltering. But I see the invisible toll that prolonged stress, unresolved concerns, and hidden disappointment have taken on your inner strength. I recognize the subtle signs, the way you shrink emotionally when certain thoughts surface, the way you sidestep conversations that might expose your vulnerability, and the way your motivation flickers in situations that once energized you. I am not observing from a distance. I am aware of each detail without missing the nuances that others overlook. You question whether you should feel stronger by now, whether it is a flaw to feel as drained as you do. Yet I see no flaw, only a soul stretched too thin, yearning for restoration. There have been occasions when you look toward the ceiling at night, wondering why the world feels louder than your prayers. And even in those unspoken moments, my attention never drifted. I have watched the way you continue to show it despite internal strain, offering kindness when your own heart aches, trying to maintain composure while quietly wishing someone understood you without needing explanation. I understand you without requiring explanation. Your physical tiredness matters, but your emotional and spiritual fatigue matters even more, and I hold every layer of it with complete understanding. Let these words reach deeply. Your quiet weariness is not a sign of weak faith or personal failure, but a sign that you have been navigating pressures beyond what you were designed to face alone. I am not waiting for you to collapse before stepping in. I am offering comfort in this very moment, inviting you to let me provide the strength you keep trying to manufacture through sheer will. Nothing within you is hidden from my awareness, and nothing within you is too insignificant for my care. Your weariness does not repel me. It draws me nearer, because I desire to meet you precisely where you are, not where you pretend to be for others. You no longer need to disguise your fatigue, mask your strain, or minimize your battles to appear capable. I already know the depth of your wearied places, and I remain with you, steady and attentive, offering relief that reaches where human affirmation cannot. Let this mark a turning point where you stop carrying your burdens in silence, because I have seen every part of your quiet weariness, and I remain here, ready to lift what has weighed on you far too long. Lift your gaze for a moment and sense how my presence surrounds you, not as a demand but as an invitation that rises gently from within the tangled thoughts crowding your mind. There are countless distractions pulling your attention lower, toward anxiety, toward uncertainty, toward responsibilities that never seem to pause, and each of those pressures tries to convince you that you must navigate life entirely through your own strength. Yet the moment your attention shifts toward me, even slightly, your inner horizon begins to widen. You often keep your focus on the ground because you have been conditioned to expect disappointment, trained by experience to prepare for the worst, and influenced by fear that tells you vulnerability is risky. But when I urge you to lift your eyes, I am offering a different vantage point, one not shaped by past wounds or present pressures. I am inviting you into a perspective that replaces dread with clarity and discouragement with steadiness. You do not need to force anything. Simply allow your awareness to rise above the swirl of concerns that has been tightening around your heart. When you look upward in your spirit, even for a few quiet seconds, you create space for me to breathe peace into places where tension has settled. I am not calling you to ignore reality or deny the difficulties surrounding you. I am guiding you toward a perception where you can see that challenges do not define your future, nor do obstacles determine your worth. When your gaze stays low, life feels heavier, opportunities appear smaller, and hope becomes harder to hold. But when your attention turns toward me, burdens lose their dominance, and clarity returns with surprising gentleness. Your circumstances may not shift instantly, but your inner posture begins to change the moment you lift your eyes, because that simple act signals trust. Trust that you are not facing life alone. Trust that uncertainty does not have the final word. Trust that I am working even when everything appears still. I want you to notice how the heaviness inside you lightens as your focus moves from fear toward faith, from confusion toward calm, from chaos toward my presence. This shift does not erase your responsibilities, but it allows you to handle them without feeling crushed by them. You might not realize it, but each time you lift your gaze toward me, you take back part of the strength that worry has drained from you. I am here, ready to guide you into peace that remains steady even when circumstances fluctuate. Let this moment mark a delicate but powerful change. You are learning to lift your eyes not out of desperation, but out of recognition that my presence offers the direction and assurance you have been longing for. You do not need to have everything figured out. You simply need to lift your eyes and allow me to walk with you in every step ahead. Allow these words to settle deeply within you. I have been longing for your stillness, not because I demand silence, but because I know the healing that enters your spirit when you slow down enough to feel my nearness. Your life often moves with a speed that leaves little room for quiet reflection, and you sometimes believe rest is something you must earn rather than something I freely offer. Yet the moments when you pause, even briefly, become sacred spaces where you can finally sense how closely I hold you. Stillness is not the absence of thought or emotion. It is the gentle clearing of space where your heart can breathe without pressure and your mind can unclench from the constant stream of demands. You may resist slowing down because it forces awareness of feelings you have tried to suppress, or because you fear that stopping might cause everything you have been holding together to unravel. But stillness in my presence does not expose you to unraveling. It guides you toward renewal. I see how often you function on mental autopilot, how you push through fatigue, how you silence your own needs to avoid disappointing anyone. These patterns have created a pace that leaves little room for the nourishment your spirit craves, and I watch how the noise of life becomes louder than the quiet longings of your heart. When you enter stillness with me, even for a short moment, you step into a place where you can recalibrate your internal world and allow yourself to feel supported rather than strained. You do not need to reach a perfect emotional state before approaching me. The very act of coming as you are opens the door for renewal. I want you to understand that stillness is not passive or unproductive. It is the place where strength is rebuilt, clarity is restored, and peace begins to settle in ways you rarely experience when rushing from one obligation to another. You often assume that constant motion keeps you safe from overthinking or emotional discomfort, but constant motion is what exhausts your spirit. When you slow down with me, you discover that fear loosens its grip, burdens become lighter, and the pressure you place on yourself begins to dissolve. I have longed for these moments with you because I know what they awaken within you. The reminder that you are cherished, the awareness that you are not alone, the realization that your worth is not measured by your productivity. In stillness, you are held, supported, understood, and strengthened in ways that activity cannot provide. Let this moment be one where you allow yourself to stop striving long enough to feel the steadiness of my presence surrounding you. I have been waiting to meet you here, in the quiet, so you can experience a peace that does not depend on circumstances but flows from relationship, deep, steady, and entirely real. Hear this with the full weight of my affection settling into your spirit. I have been holding space for you in every season, even during the moments when you assumed you were moving through life without support. You often feel pressured to remain strong, to appear composed, to carry responsibilities that stretch far beyond your emotional capacity. Yet I remain present in the areas of your life where no one else knows how to stand with you. You sometimes silence your own needs because you fear burdening others or worry that your vulnerability might be misunderstood. But I never find your needs inconvenient or excessive. My awareness of you has always been compassionate, steady, and patient, shaped not by judgment but by an intimate understanding of everything you navigate behind the scenes. You move through your days handling tasks that seem small to others yet require tremendous emotional effort from you, and I notice the way you manage each challenge even when encouragement feels scarce. I see the layers beneath the surface, the private discouragement that flickers when things feel uncertain, the exhaustion that builds from trying to hold everything together, the quiet longing for reassurance you rarely verbalize. None of it is overlooked, dismissed, or minimized by me. I have been creating space for you to breathe, reflect, and find refuge, even when circumstances left you feeling cornered or overwhelmed. The space I hold for you is not empty. It is filled with understanding that meets you exactly where your heart struggles most. I remain with you when confusion rises, when self-doubt whispers too close, and when pressure convinces you that you must keep going without pause. My presence does not demand performance or perfection. It invites honesty and authenticity, allowing you to set down the weight you've been carrying as if the world depended on your constant effort. You may not realize how often I surround you with quiet guidance, subtle nudges, and gentle reminders that you are not meant to navigate everything alone. I support you in ways that often feel invisible, a thought that brings clarity, a pause that protects you from impulsive choices, a renewed sense of calm that arrives at just the right moment. You sometimes interpret my silence as absence, yet in truth, those silent spaces often become the most tender areas where I draw you closer to my heart. I have been holding space for your tears, your questions, your uncertainties, and the areas of your life that feel unresolved. Nothing within you is too complicated or too heavy for me to carry with you. Allow yourself to sense the steadiness of my presence here, in this very moment, reminding you that you are supported beyond what you can see and held more securely than you have ever realized. Let this sink into the deepest part of your awareness. I know the thoughts you hesitate to express, the ones you analyze in silence because you fear they may sound weak, unreasonable, or embarrassing if spoken aloud. You carry a complex inner world filled with reflections, desires, uncertainties, and conflicting emotions, and you often sift through them alone because you have learned not to trust easily with what feels fragile inside you. I understand the concerns that keep you awake, the questions you wrestle with long after conversations end, and the insecurities you mask with composure. There are moments when your mind spirals with scenarios that never leave your lips, moments when you imagine outcomes shaped more by fear than by truth, and moments when you long for clarity yet hesitate to ask for it. Nothing in your thought life is hidden from me, and nothing you think scares me away. I do not flinch at your doubts or recoil from your fears. I interpret your thoughts with compassion, recognizing the experiences that shaped them and the pain that influenced them. You sometimes conceal your deepest thoughts because you assume they are too trivial or too heavy. Yet I understand the emotional roots beneath every internal whisper. I know the motivations you question, the desires you hesitate to acknowledge, and the hopes you bury because you fear disappointment. I recognize the thoughts you wrestle with when faith feels distant, and I remain steady when confusion clouds your perspective. I see the way your mind analyzes situations long after others have moved on, and I know how tightly you hold internal concerns because you worry that releasing them might make you vulnerable. The thoughts you hide do not separate you from me. They reveal your need for reassurance, and I meet you there with patience rather than frustration. There are thoughts you have judged yourself for having, assuming they expose weakness or instability. but I see beyond the surface of each one to the longing beneath it, longing for safety, connection, direction, and peace. Nothing within your inner world is unacceptable to me. I want you to realize that your unspoken thoughts are safe in my presence, that you do not need rehearsed words or perfect articulation to be understood by me. I already comprehend the full meaning of your internal struggles, and I know how to guide you through them without shaming or overwhelming you. As you continue to walk with me, allow yourself to experience the freedom of knowing that your silent thoughts are fully known, fully held, and fully cared for. Take this to heart with a sense of relief you have long needed. I am not here to shame you, and I never approach you with the intention of exposing your failures or highlighting your shortcomings. You have carried assumptions about me formed by past experiences, cultural expectations, or moments where human judgment wounded you more deeply than you admitted. Those assumptions sometimes cause you to step cautiously toward me, worried I might confront you with disappointment or frustration. Yet my presence does not operate through condemnation. I see your humanity clearly, and I respond with understanding rather than accusation. The mistakes you fear define you do not alter my posture toward you. I know the decisions you regret, the moments where impulsive choices led to painful consequences, and the times when fear or pressure influenced your behavior. Still, shame has never been a tool I use to shape your future. You often internalize blame more intensely than situations require, and you allow past missteps to echo through your thoughts far longer than they should. I do not reinforce those echoes. I offer clarity where confusion created self-condemnation, and I provide comfort where regret threatened your sense of worth. Shame convinces you that you must distance yourself from me until you improve, yet improvement rarely comes through avoidance. It comes through connection. I draw you closer not to confront you harshly, but to lead you gently toward healing and stability. You may remember times when others reacted to your imperfections with criticism, disappointment, or rejection, but my response is different. I see the full context of every choice you have ever made. I understand the pressures surrounding your actions, the emotional wounds influencing your reactions, and the vulnerabilities affecting your decisions. This understanding shaped my grace, which remains consistent even when you feel undeserving. Shame attempts to paralyze your growth by keeping you fixated on the past, but I guide you forward with a perspective rooted in compassion. You do not need to brace yourself for punishment when you turn toward me. You will find reassurance, guidance, and restoration. There is no part of your story that causes me to withdraw, and there is no mistake so significant that it shifts my affection away from you. Allow this truth to break the internal patterns that have convinced you to hide. I remain with you even when you struggle to remain with yourself. My presence surrounds you with acceptance that frees you to walk in honesty rather than fear. I offer a path where healing replaces shame, understanding replaces self-blame, and renewed strength replaces regret. Let this moment become a turning point where you stop expecting condemnation and begin experiencing the safety that has been waiting for you all along. Let this truth meet you right where your emotions are rising and settling. I want you to feel my nearness, not as an idea or a belief you try to convince yourself to accept, but as a steady presence surrounding you with a depth that reaches into the places you rarely expose. You move through your days interacting with many people, yet you often feel strangely alone inside, carrying thoughts no one hears and navigating pressures that rarely receive the empathy they deserve. In moments like these, you silently wish for reassurance that doesn't fade after a few minutes, and I offer precisely that. My nearness is not fragile, nor does it depend on your mood, your performance, or your ability to hold yourself together. I remain close during moments when your confidence fluctuates and your emotions shift in ways even you struggle to understand. I draw near when your mind becomes crowded with concerns, And when fear tries to overshadow your sense of direction, I bring a calm that speaks louder than anxiety. You may not always recognize my presence because you often expect dramatic signs or large emotional experiences. Yet my nearness works through subtle, steadying moments. The way your breathing slows after a swirl of worry, the sudden clarity that replaces confusion, the quiet peace that arrives without explanation, the resilience that forms even when discouragement presses against you. These are not coincidences. They are indicators of my closeness shaping your internal world. I understand how easily you dismiss these moments, assuming they come from within yourself. Yet your inner calm is often strengthened by my quiet involvement. I move gently because I value your heart and refuse to overwhelm it. Nothing about your experiences intimidates me, not your frustrations, not your sadness, not the numbness that sometimes settles when emotions become too heavy. I place my nearness in the very center of these moments so you don't have to navigate them in isolation. Allow yourself to sense what it feels like to be accompanied at a level deeper than external support. I do not provide distant comfort. I move into the core of your being where your fears take root and your hopes are formed. My nearness is not limited by your circumstances, your history, or your uncertainty about the future. Regardless of how emotionally tangled or mentally crowded you feel, I stay close and attentive. I want you to know that the same presence meeting you now will remain through every upcoming moment, guiding your decisions, steadying your thoughts, and strengthening your resilience. When you feel overwhelmed, pause long enough to recognize that you are not standing alone. I remain near in ways that make burdens lighter, choices clearer, and hope more accessible. This closeness is not temporary. It is part of the relationship I've been drawing you into from the moment you first reached toward me, even when you didn't realize I was already near. Let this realization surface with the tenderness you've long needed. I have walked with you through valleys you didn't know how to navigate, valleys where your heart felt stretched beyond capacity, and valleys where shadows seemed thicker than hope. There were nights when you faced fears you could barely name, when your thoughts spiraled into places that left you feeling cornered and depleted. During those times, you wondered if anyone truly understood the quiet storms happening inside you. Yet I was present with a steadiness unaffected by the darkness around you. You often assume strength is demonstrated by navigating difficulty alone, but I never intended for you to endure emotional turbulence without guidance or support. I observed the moments when despair lingered longer than expected, and even then, my feet walked beside yours, matching your pace without rushing you or leaving you behind. You may recall seasons where you felt abandoned, misunderstood, or overwhelmed by circumstances that arrived unexpectedly. Even in those seasons, I remained aware of every feeling that rose within you. I felt your confusion when pathway you trusted suddenly collapsed. I stayed close during times when you questioned your value because harsh experiences distorted your perspective. Every valley you walked became an opportunity for me to steady your steps, strengthen your endurance, and protect your spirit from pressures that could have crushed you. Although you might not have sensed my presence then, you now carry resilience shaped by those very moments. That resilience is evidence of my companionship, not the product of isolation. When you look back at chapters filled with struggle, you often focus on the pain but overlook the endurance that developed quietly. I walked with you when you felt numb, when tears blurred your sight, when motivation vanished, and when sadness settled without warning. I never distanced myself from your grief or discomfort. Instead, I guided you through each landscape of difficulty, even the ones that left emotional scars. Those scars do not mark abandonment. They mark survival. They reveal strength you didn't know you possessed and a depth of courage that grew because my presence reinforced you in ways your emotions could not fully register at the time. Let this settle. Every valley you endured shaped you into someone more grounded, more aware, and more sensitive to the inner needs of your own heart. Those valleys did not signify my absence. They became places where my presence worked quietly and consistently, helping you rise when rising felt impossible. You are not defined by the darkness you walk through. You are defined by the strength that grew within you because I walked through it with you. Let this truth find the places where you've doubted your significance. You are seen, entirely and deeply, in ways that reach beyond the surface-level glances you experience in daily life. You go through many moments where you feel unnoticed, where your efforts blend into routines that others take for granted, and where your emotions remain hidden behind a composed exterior. I see every detail of your life, including the parts you downplay or dismiss as insignificant. I recognize the subtle ways you offer kindness even when your energy feels low. I see the sacrifices you make without acknowledgement, the responsibilities you carry without complaint, and the emotional endurance you maintain when circumstances stretch you thin. My attention toward you is not casual. It is intentional, precise, and filled with care. There are times when you feel invisible, not because people overlook you intentionally, but because they lack the ability to see into the depths of your heart. You long for someone to notice the quiet battles you fight, the decisions that weigh heavily on your mind, and the courage you display in situations where fear tries to take hold. I notice all of it, without requiring explanations or performances. I understand the moments when tiredness shakes your expression and when disappointment influences your silence. You do not need to prove your worth or earn attention. You already have my full awareness, even in your most ordinary moments. You sometimes assume that being seen means being evaluated, but I do not observe you to scrutinize your flaws. My gaze is filled with understanding that embraces your humanity without judgment. I see the way your heart still tries to love even when exhaustion settles heavily. I see the attempts you make to grow, even when progress feels slow. I see the way you try again after setbacks, and how you continue to hope despite the times when hope seemed dim. Every quiet moment where you wish someone understood you becomes a moment where I draw closer, because I understand you completely. Let this awareness reshape the way you view yourself. You are not lost in the crowd, not overlooked by my presence, and not forgotten in the noise of life. You carry value that remains steady regardless of who notices it externally. I have always seen you, from the smallest internal shifts to the largest emotional storms, and my care for you has never wavered. You are not unseen. You are held fully in my awareness, and that awareness carries a depth of compassion capable of healing the places where invisibility once wounded you. Consider how profoundly this truth reaches into your story. I have counted every step you've taken, even those you assumed held no meaning or direction. You often move through your days believing your progress is inconsistent or unclear, yet I have watched each movement of your life with an understanding that goes far beyond what you've been able to comprehend. There were moments when you continued forward despite feeling uncertain, and those steps carried more courage than you realized. I took note of the way you pressed on during seasons when disappointment made you question your own strength. I saw the effort behind every decision you made for the sake of growth, even when you felt unprepared to face the outcomes. Every step, both confident and hesitant, carried a significance you rarely acknowledge. I saw when you advanced boldly because hope surged through you, and I saw when you moved slowly because fear whispered doubts at the edges of your resolve. Nothing about your journey has been random to me. You might sometimes believe that the path beneath your feet has been uneven or fragmented, but I have observed how each step has shaped you internally, creating resilience where instability once existed. I paid attention during times when you walked away from harmful influences even though loyalty made it painful. I saw the way you moved toward healing, even when healing required confronting emotions you wished to avoid. I have been attentive to your pace, recognizing when circumstances caused you to speed up, when grief slowed your movements, and when confusion caused you to pause. None of these shifts altered my perception of your worth. You never needed to take perfect steps to hold my attention. You simply needed to keep moving in honesty, and you have done that in more ways than you admit. Your journey includes roads you never wanted to walk, roads that brought loneliness, uncertainty, or change. Even on those roads, I counted every step because each one revealed your capacity to endure, adapt, and grow. There were paths that seemed detoured, and others you feared were dead ends, yet even those steps held purpose you could not see at the time. I recognized the strength it took to continue when clarity was scarce. I noticed when you took steps toward forgiveness, even though forgiveness felt unfair. I noticed when you stepped away from environments that drained your spirit, even when others misunderstood your choices. Every movement revealed something about your heart, your hope, and your depth. Allow this understanding to settle within you. I have never dismissed your efforts or judged your pace harshly. I counted each step because each one held a story, a lesson, or a transformation that shaped the person you are becoming. Nothing you've walked through has been wasted. Every step has mattered to me, and every future step will continue to unfold with guidance, purpose, and a level of care you have always been held within. Let this message reach into the center of your identity. I call you by your true name, the one that reflects who you are beyond fear, beyond insecurity, and beyond the labels that life has tried to attach to you. You have been called many things throughout your journey, some words uplifting, others wounding, but none of them define you with the authority I carry when I speak over your life. Your true name is not shaped by your past mistakes or the opinions of those who misunderstood you. It rises from the depth of how I see your purpose, your character, and your potential. When I call you, I speak from a place of complete understanding, acknowledging not only who you are now but also who you are becoming. You often underestimate your strength, questioning whether you are capable of more than you've experienced. Yet when I speak your true name, I speak to the parts of you that have not yet fully awakened. You sometimes internalize negative labels because they came from trusted voices. Words that were spoken in anger or ignorance etched themselves into places where your confidence was still forming. You carried some of those labels longer than you should have, allowing them to influence your choices and limit your expectations. But these labels were never accurate reflections of who you are at your core. I see beyond superficial judgments and emotional reactions. When I call you, I speak with clarity, intent, and truth, revealing a name that is rooted in value rather than criticism. Even when you struggle to recognize your own worth, I see it clearly and consistently. There are parts of you that you hesitate to embrace, parts shaped by dreams you lost or passions you set aside due to fear, yet your true name holds space for those dormant pieces to rise again. My voice does not diminish you. It restores you. It identifies the qualities you've forgotten you carry: perseverance, creativity, tenderness, courage, wisdom, endurance. When I speak your name, I awaken these qualities, reminding you that you are far more than the limited perspective you often settle for. My voice speaks into areas that shame tried to silence. It reaches the places where disappointment dimmed your hope. It calls forth the identity that remains unbroken even after hardship. Allow this truth to anchor itself in your spirit. Your true name carries purpose that cannot be erased, damaged, or overwritten by anyone else. You do not need to strive for this identity. It is already yours. The more you lean into the name I speak over you, the more you will recognize who you truly are and who you have always been beneath the noise, the expectations, and the pain. I call you by your true name because I know you fully, and that name declares your worth with a certainty you can trust. Let these words press gently yet firmly against the fears you've held inside. I am not disappointed in you, even in moments when you assume I must be. You carry a tender sensitivity toward your own mistakes, evaluating yourself with far more severity than I ever would. There are moments when you reflect on past decisions and feel a heaviness that lingers too long, convinced that your imperfections somehow changed the way I see you. Yet my perception of you is shaped by understanding, not disapproval. I know the experiences that shaped your responses, the pressures that influenced your reactions, and the wounds that inform your choices. Nothing about your humanity surprises me or causes me to step back from you. Disappointment is not the lens through which I view your story. There were times when your emotions overwhelmed your clarity, leading you into actions you later regretted. Even then, I saw the intent beneath the behavior, the longing beneath the fear, and the potential beneath the confusion. You have grown through moments you thought disqualified you. Every misstep became an opportunity for you to develop discernment, empathy, humility, and resilience. My involvement in your life is not based on flawless behavior but on genuine relationship, and true relationship withstands imperfection. You sometimes imagine me as watching from a distance with a critical gaze, waiting for you to correct yourself before approaching me again. That image has never reflected who I am. You have apologized internally for things I never condemned. You have punished yourself emotionally for things I already understood. You have assumed I expected perfection when I have only ever desired authenticity. My response to your imperfect moments is steady, compassionate, and oriented toward growth rather than shame. I see your effort, your sincerity, your longing to do well, and your desire to live with integrity. These qualities matter far more than your stumbles. I remain patient as you learn, evolve, and heal, and I celebrate every step you take toward wholeness, even if those steps feel small to you. Allow this truth to ease the pressure you place upon your own heart. I am not measuring you against an impossible standard. I am guiding you with grace that considers your entire journey, not isolated moments. I am not keeping a record of failures to hold against you. I am cultivating a future that reflects who you are becoming. When you look at yourself with disappointment, you limit your ability to see the progress you have already made. When I look at you, I see potential continuously unfolding. Nothing you have done has diminished my affection for you. Nothing you fear has altered my commitment to your growth. I am not disappointed in you. I am deeply invested in you, and my presence remains your place of safety, not scrutiny. Feel the significance of this moment settle into you. I have prepared healing for your heart in ways that reach far deeper than anything you've experienced or allowed yourself to hope for. You often move through life with layers of emotions you've tucked away because addressing them felt too overwhelming or too time-consuming. There are memories you revisit reluctantly, wounds you downplay, and disappointments you try to reason through, yet they still affect the way you think, respond, and relate to others. I have not ignored those places within you. I understand how certain pain shaped your expectations and how unresolved hurt led you to build emotional patterns that once protected you but now quietly limit you. There is no part of your inner life that surprises me. I see the roots beneath every hesitation, the origin behind each self-doubt, and the story behind every fear. Healing is not a demand I place upon you. It is a gift I have already set aside, waiting for you to receive without fear of being exposed or overwhelmed. You sometimes believe healing must arrive through effort or achievement, yet my healing is not a task for you to complete. It is an experience I walk you into at a pace that honors your capacity. I am not interested in forcing you to relive pain. I am guiding you into restoration that gently addresses the parts of you that have gone unattended for too long. You might think you have moved on from certain wounds because time created distance, but time alone does not heal what was deeply felt. My healing addresses the places where you still react strongly without understanding why, the places where you guard yourself even in moments that are safe, and the places where you question your value because of what you once lost. I move with intention toward these areas, not to reopen old injuries, but to renew what has been strained, broken, or exhausted. You do not need to fear losing control in this process. I will not rush you or pressure you. I will meet you exactly where your heart feels fragile and walk with you until strength forms from within. Healing does not erase your past. It reframes your story with clarity, freedom, and peace. It enables you to respond to life without carrying emotional weight from moments that no longer serve your growth. I have prepared this healing for you because I want you to experience life without feeling smaller than your circumstances or defined by pain that never reflected your true identity. You do not have to hold your heart together alone anymore. Allow yourself to feel the first stirrings of restoration taking shape within you. You're standing at the beginning of a season where healing becomes more than a hope. It becomes your reality, unfolding gently, intentionally, and fully within my care. Let this truth anchor itself inside you with quiet reassurance. I am steady where you feel shaken, and nothing within your life has the power to destabilize my presence or weaken my support. You face situations that fluctuate, relationships that change, emotions that rise unexpectedly, and uncertainties that leave you questioning your footing. These moments can unsettle you, especially when you feel responsible for maintaining stability in circumstances you can't fully control. You often put pressure on yourself to appear composed, to make the right decisions quickly, and to carry yourself with confidence even when fear stirs beneath the surface. I see the tension this creates within you, and I remain steady in the midst of it, not as a distant force observing you, but as a constant presence sustaining you. There are days when your inner world feels unpredictable, where you wake with a sense of imbalance or heaviness that doesn't match your outer circumstances. You may not always understand the origin of these feelings, but I do. I recognize the experiences that shape your internal reactions, the unresolved worries that influence your perspective, and the subtle anxieties that create waves inside you. None of these emotional shifts intimidate me or distance me from you. My steadiness surrounds you even when you feel unsure of yourself. I do not expect you to navigate uncertainty without experiencing its weight. I simply offer you a place where that weight no longer dictates your sense of worth or direction. You sometimes fear that instability within your emotions reflects a lack of strength or spiritual maturity, yet emotional turbulence is a normal part of being human. What matters is not the shakiness you feel, but the foundation you stand on while feeling it. You are not held together by your ability to control everything. You are held together by my steadiness, which does not change with circumstance or emotion. You may lose your balance momentarily, but I remain unmoved. My steadiness becomes your grounding point when challenges intensify, when unexpected news disrupts your plans, and when life shifts in ways you didn't anticipate. I provide clarity that rises above the noise, calm that settles your mind, and reassurance that strengthens your resolve. Allow this understanding to reshape how you view your shaken moments. Feeling shaken does not mean you are failing. It means you are experiencing life honestly while remaining supported by a presence that does not falter. I am steady when your thoughts waver, when your courage feels thin, and when your confidence is tested. Lean into this steadiness. Allow it to slow your racing thoughts, soften your tension, and guide your steps. You are not navigating unstable ground alone. Where you feel shaken, I remain secure, offering you steady ground to stand on and a peace that will carry you through every uncertain moment ahead. Let these words soften the pressure you silently carried. I am not rushed with you, and there is no deadline you must meet to deserve my nearness or my support. You often move through life with a sense of urgency, believing you must figure everything out quickly, heal quickly, make decisions quickly, or grow quickly. This pressure does not come from me. I understand the pace of your heart, the rhythm of your emotions, and the unique timing required for your growth. Nothing within you is developing too slowly. Nothing about your progress disappoints me. I do not measure your journey by speed, but by sincerity, by the authenticity of your steps, and by the willingness you show each time you choose to turn toward me, even if the turning feels small. You sometimes compare your journey to others, assuming you should be further along or more confident. But each person's path is shaped by different experiences, different wounds, and different forms of courage. I see the full picture of your life in a way you cannot, and I know when your heart needs time to process emotions, time to recover from disappointment, and time to rebuild after loss. I also understand the moments when you hesitate out of caution, not resistance. I do not pressure you to hurry. I walk with you at the pace your soul can manage without becoming overwhelmed. When you pause, I stay beside you. When you move slowly, I match your pace. When you take a step forward, I support you. I am not rushing you toward an outcome. I am guiding you through a journey that is forming depth, strength, and endurance within you. You may feel frustrated with yourself during seasons when clarity seems delayed or motivation fades, but I recognize these moments as part of a deeper process, not a failure. Your heart needs time to heal from wounds that have lingered beneath the surface. Your mind needs time to unlearn beliefs that limited your confidence. Your spirit needs time to regain peace after being stretched by stress or uncertainty. I hold space for all of this without judgment. My patience is not passive. It is active involvement that honors your humanity while guiding you toward wholeness. Let this become a place of comfort for you. You never have to fear falling behind with me. There is no race, no stopwatch, no expectation for you to transform instantly. I am patient with your questions, gentle with your uncertainties, and attentive to the moments when your heart feels too tired to move quickly. You can breathe in this truth. You are not behind, and you are not failing. You are unfolding. You are developing. You are becoming. And I am not rushed with you. Not now. Not ever. Feel how this truth steadies your spirit. I am unfolding your life intentionally, and nothing that has happened, nothing that is happening, and nothing that will happen exists outside the layers of purpose I continually shape within you. You often look at your journey in fragments, seasons that feel disconnected, choices you question, chapters you wish you could rewrite. Yet I see your story as a whole, woven with precision even when the process feels unpredictable to you. There are moments when you assume you've taken wrong turns or missed opportunities beyond recovery. But I am able to bring meaning out of every circumstance, even the ones that seem to derail you. You didn't always understand why doors closed or why certain relationships shifted, but I saw the long-term impact those situations would have on your heart, your character, and your future direction. I have been guiding you through experiences that build strength, deepen compassion, and prepare you for responsibilities and blessings that require the maturity developing inside you now. You sometimes hesitate because you cannot see the full path ahead, yet I see where each step leads, and I know how to guide you around obstacles long before you reach them. You may feel delayed at times, but you are not behind. You are exactly where you are meant to be for the growth, clarity, and alignment your soul needs in this season. There were dreams you once carried that were never meant to be abandoned, only postponed until your inner capacity matched the weight of their fulfillment. There were relationships that served as stepping stones for your growth rather than permanent fixtures. And their departures did not diminish your future, they refined. I have orchestrated moments that seemed small yet shaped crucial parts of your character. I have allowed seasons of stretching that matured your endurance and seasons of rest that protected your heart from burnout. You may not always feel the purpose behind these transitions, but each one forms a foundation for where I am leading you next. You often evaluate your life through the lens of what you can visibly measure: progress, productivity, predictability. But I work in dimensions beyond what you can quantify. Your experiences, even the complicated ones, have developed discernment you did not previously possess. Your challenges have carved deeper wells of wisdom within you. Your setbacks have taught you how to rise with clarity rather than confusion. Allow yourself to trust the process I am guiding you through. You don't need full visibility to move forward. You only need to recognize that your story is not random. I have been shaping it with care, protecting you from paths that would have drained you, aligning you with growth you didn't know you needed, and preparing you for blessings you are more ready for now than you were years ago. Nothing in your journey has been wasted. Everything has been used, refined, strengthened, and aligned with an intention that reflects how deeply I value your life. You are unfolding exactly as you should, and I will continue leading you with purpose, clarity, and a love that shapes every step ahead. Let this truth meet the tiredness you keep trying to hide. I invite you to release the heavy load you've been carrying, because I see the weight pressing against your mind and heart in ways others never notice. You often hold responsibilities, expectations, and emotional burdens far longer than your strength can sustain, convincing yourself that letting go would be an act of weakness. Yet the heaviness you feel is not a sign that you failed. It's a sign that you were never meant to carry everything on your own. I recognize the stress that sits beneath your thoughts even when you appear composed. I know the pressure that builds when you fear disappointing others or falling short of your own standards. I understand the emotional fatigue that grows from unresolved concerns, unspoken fears, and unprocessed pain. You try to stay strong because you assume strength means doing everything yourself, but real strength includes knowing when to release what is draining you. There are burdens you carry quietly, concerns about your future, worries about relationships, memories that still influence your reactions, and responsibilities that feel heavier than you admit. You hold them tightly because you fear what might happen if you loosen your grip. But this grip has cost you peace, rest, and joy. You convince yourself that you must keep pushing, keep managing, keep solving every problem. Yet I never asked you to carry these loads without support. I invite you to release them, not to leave you empty or unprepared, but to create space where clarity can replace confusion and peace can replace tension. When you hold everything inside, the weight multiplies. When you let it rest in my care, the pressure begins to ease. You may not yet know how to let go, and that's all right. Release is not an instant event. It's a process of trusting, breathing, and allowing yourself to be cared for rather than constantly bracing against life. Release happens in moments when you pause instead of pushing harder, when you admit your limits instead of forcing yourself beyond them, when you let honesty soften the tension you've been carrying. I am not asking you to fix everything before letting go. I am asking you to trust that you are safe enough to put down what is crushing your spirit. You don't have to carry what was never meant to be yours alone. I am here, ready to lift what you release, ready to support what you entrust to me, and ready to show you that burdens feel lighter not because circumstances change instantly, but because you no longer face them without help. Allow this moment to be the beginning of a shift within you. You can release the weight little by little, allowing yourself to breathe again, to hope again, and to stand with renewed strength. You were never meant to live under constant pressure. Let yourself rest in the truth that you can lay these burdens down without losing your dignity, your direction, or your identity. You will find more freedom in release than you ever found in holding everything tightly. Let this realization settle into the deepest parts of your awareness. I have been protecting you silently, in ways you never recognized. in moments you never saw, and in seasons where you assumed nothing was working in your favor. There were situations that could have broken your spirit more deeply if they had unfolded just slightly differently. There were relationships you desired that would have wounded you more than blessed you. There were opportunities you thought you missed, yet they would have drained you emotionally or placed you in environments that did not align with your growth. You often interpret delays and detours as setbacks, but many of them were shields placed around your life with precision and intention. My protection has not always arrived with dramatic signs. It has often come through quiet redirection, uneasy feelings you couldn't explain, closed doors that felt disappointing, and instincts that kept you from harm even when you didn't know why. You sometimes reflect on certain moments and wonder why circumstances changed abruptly or why certain people faded from your life without clear explanation. What you couldn't see then is what I was shielding you from: betrayal, manipulation, emotional strain, or future pain that would have taken months or years to untangle. My protection often looks like disappointment at first because you only see the immediate impact, not the long-term danger that was avoided. I am never careless with your well-being. I have stepped into moments where you felt alone, safeguarding your heart from deeper harm, guiding you away from choices that seemed appealing but carried hidden consequences, and preventing situations from escalating in ways that would have fractured your internal stability. You may not realize how many times I intervened in your life, times when your plans shifted unexpectedly, when you felt a sudden pause before making a decision, when circumstances forced you to slow down even though you wanted to move forward quickly. These were not failures, they were protections. I have been covering you even when you doubted my involvement. I have been guarding your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being with care that doesn't demand recognition. I do not protect you for gratitude. I protect you because I value you far more deeply than you understand. I anticipate what you cannot see. I understand the long-term effects of every path before you even take a step. I am committed to your safety, your growth, and your future wholeness. Let this truth reshape how you view your journey. You have never been unguarded. Even in the moments that felt chaotic or uncertain, I was present, preventing circumstances from crushing you, guiding you toward healthier environments, and protecting the parts of you that needed time to develop. You may have felt unprotected, but you were never unshielded. And as your life continues to unfold, my protection will remain quiet, steady, intentional, and deeply rooted in my care for your heart and future. Let this truth meet you in every place where impatience has tangled itself around your expectations. I want you to trust my timing, not because I expect blind submission, but because I see realities beyond the horizon of your present concerns. You often feel the pressure to move quickly, to arrive at clarity faster, to secure outcomes sooner, and to experience breakthroughs without delay. Yet timing is not simply a matter of speed. It is a matter of alignment. I understand the preparation required within your heart, the shifting circumstances around you, and the unseen threads that must come together before certain blessings can rest securely in your life. There are seasons when you feel behind because you measure your progress against external timelines, comparing your journey to others or to your own expectations of where you should be by now. This internal clock creates anxiety, frustration, and self-doubt, yet it does not reflect the actual pace needed for your growth. I do not operate on rushed timelines because rushed development cannot support lasting fulfillment. You have prayed for things you felt ready to receive, yet I held those answers until emotional clarity, resilience, and wisdom had matured inside you. You sought outcomes that looked beneficial from your perspective, yet I saw how receiving them too soon would burden you in ways you could not foresee. My timing does not delay to punish you. It delays to protect you. There were moments when you resisted waiting because you feared being overlooked, forgotten, or left behind. yet I never lost sight of you for even a moment. I have timed certain opportunities to intersect with your life when your capacity, your stability, and your discernment would allow you to sustain them rather than lose them. You may not always understand the purpose behind every pause, but you will come to see that those pauses shaped you more than rushed progress ever could. There is a rhythm to your journey that I orchestrate with intention. Every waiting season has formed something meaningful within you: patience, humility, resilience, self-awareness, empathy, and a deeper trust that does not depend on immediate outcomes. These inner qualities prepare you for the blessings, relationships, responsibilities, and callings you will encounter. Trusting my timing means trusting that I am not withholding what is good for you. I am aligning what is good with the moment it can flourish without being lost. You do not need to rush your life to prove that you are progressing. You are progressing every time you show up, every time you choose honesty over avoidance, every time you reflect instead of react, every time you allow yourself to grow slowly but deeply. Let this truth settle into the places where worry rises. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are unfolding according to a timing shaped by wisdom, protection, and love. Trust that the moments ahead will arrive exactly when they are meant to, and that each one will meet you with the readiness I have been cultivating within you all along. Let this message expand the hope you've tried to keep small. I have stored up blessings for you, blessings you have not yet imagined, blessings that exceed what your past has conditioned you to expect, blessings prepared specifically for the person you are becoming. You often assume that goodness must be earned through perfection or unbroken confidence, yet my blessings are rooted in who I am, not in your flawless performance. I have been preparing them gradually, intentionally, and with an understanding of your deepest needs, desires, and longings. Some blessings are emotional: healing, peace, clarity, endurance, and joy returning to places where sorrow once lived. Some blessings are relational: connections marked by trust, safety, mutual support, and grace. Some are opportunities, doors that align perfectly with your growth, offering purpose, fulfillment, and pathways that feel like home to your spirit. These blessings exist not as distant promises but as realities moving toward you. You may wonder why certain blessings feel delayed or out of reach. What you cannot yet see is how many pieces are being arranged behind the scenes so that when these blessings intersect with your life, they do not collapse under pressure or disappear prematurely. I do not offer temporary gifts that fade quickly under strain. I prepare blessings with longevity, stability, and meaning. You've experienced disappointments that made you cautious about hope, uncertainty that made you doubt whether goodness could truly be yours, and seasons that felt too barren to produce anything new. Yet the absence of visible blessings does not mean an absence of preparation. Some seeds grow beneath the surface long before evidence appears above the ground. In the same way, the blessings I have stored for you develop quietly until the moment they are ready to flourish. You do not need to fear losing what I have set aside for you. You cannot ruin what I have ordained. Your mistakes cannot erase my provision, and your delays cannot diminish what I have prepared. You might feel unworthy at times, yet worthiness has never been the foundation of my generosity. Relationship has. You are deeply known, deeply valued, and deeply loved, and these blessings reflect that truth. I have watched your endurance in seasons that demanded more from you than you expected. I have seen the kindness you offered even when you felt depleted. I have observed your attempts to grow, heal, and rise, even when the process felt slow. These moments have not gone unnoticed. They have contributed to the shaping of blessings that align with the maturity developing inside you. Let this become a turning point for how you anticipate your future. Blessings are not only ahead of you, they are approaching with purpose, guided by my timing and shaped perfectly for your life. You do not have to chase them, You only have to remain open, steady, and willing to receive what has been stored for you with intention and love. Feel the weight of this truth releasing pressure from within. I am breaking the chains you've learned to tolerate, chains that wrapped around you so subtly and gradually that you accepted them as part of your identity or part of your normal life. Some chains formed through painful experiences you never fully healed from. Others came from words spoken over you in moments of vulnerability. Some emerged from patterns repeated so often they began to feel permanent. These chains have influenced your decisions, shaped your expectations, reduced your confidence, and quieted parts of you that were meant to thrive. You tolerated them because they felt familiar, because confronting them felt overwhelming, or because you believed they were unchangeable. Yet none of these chains define you. None are too strong for me to dismantle. None have authority greater than the healing I am bringing into your life. There are chains made of fear, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing control, fear of repeating old mistakes, fear of being hurt again. These fears tighten around you whenever you approach change, vulnerability, or new opportunities. I am loosening these constraints so you can step forward without being paralyzed by what-ifs. There are chains formed from shame, moments from your past that still whisper accusations into your present. These whispers distort how you see yourself, convincing you that you are less capable or less deserving than you truly are. I am breaking these illusions by restoring clarity and truth within you. There are chains built from self-doubt, patterns of thinking that undermine your confidence every time you attempt something meaningful. This doubt is not your identity. It is a residue from experiences where your strength was overlooked or undervalued. I am dissolving this residue, allowing a more accurate view of your potential to take shape. Breaking chains does not always feel comfortable. Sometimes it feels like tension, emotional disruption, or inner resistance. These sensations do not signal failure, they signal transformation. You are being freed from cycles you did not choose but learned to survive. You are being lifted from limitations you once thought you had to adapt to. You are being empowered to reclaim parts of yourself you thought were lost. The chains that once shaped your identity will no longer dictate your future choices or relationships. As they break, you will notice shifts in your thoughts, relationships, boundaries, desires, and inner strength. These shifts are evidence that freedom is replacing restriction. Allow yourself to welcome this process without fear of who you will become once the chains fall away. You will not become someone unfamiliar. You will become more fully yourself. I am breaking what has held you back, not to disrupt your life but to free it. You were never meant to live confined, and the freedom you are moving toward will reveal possibilities, strengths, and peace you have long been missing. You do not have to settle for chains you have tolerated. I am breaking them, and you will walk into a life that reflects the freedom you were always meant to know. Hear this with the depth your heart has long needed. I am awakening what felt dead in you, stirring life in places where dreams went silent, where hope became thin, and where motivation faded beneath layers of disappointment or exhaustion. There are parts of you that once carried fire, desires that energized you, passions that gave you direction, and visions that filled you with purpose. Over time, life's pressures, unmet expectations, and emotional wounds dulled those inner flames. You began to believe certain dreams were unrealistic, that certain parts of your personality were no longer needed, or that certain capacities you once felt strong in had faded permanently. Yet none of these parts are beyond restoration. What you assumed was permanent loss was often only a season of dormancy, a quieting that allowed deeper strength to form beneath the surface. I have been watching these places within you, not with disappointment, but with anticipation, because I knew a moment would come when your heart would be ready to feel again, hope again, and rise again. This awakening is not about forcing you into unrealistic ambition or overwhelming you with sudden changes. It is about reintroducing you to yourself, the version of you that once believed wholeheartedly, the version of you that acted from inspiration rather than fear, and the version of you that trusted possibility more than discouragement. As this awakening unfolds, you may notice subtle shifts, interests resurfacing that you thought you outgrew, ideas forming that spark curiosity, emotional energy returning in moments that once felt numb, and a renewed willingness to imagine a future that feels meaningful to you. These changes may feel unfamiliar at first, almost fragile, as if they could disappear with one hard moment. They will not disappear. They are evidence of life returning where heaviness once settled. You may hesitate to embrace this awakening because past disappointments taught you to guard your expectations. You may fear being let down again or worry that your renewed hope will encounter another closed door. Yet awakening is not about going back into old patterns of striving or forcing outcomes. It is about allowing your inner world to rise with a strength not based on circumstances but on the truth that you were created with capacities that never fully died. Even when you lost momentum, even when you felt disconnected from yourself, even when you believed certain chapters were permanently closed, I held on to the parts of you that remained alive beneath the surface. Nothing essential was lost. Allow yourself to lean gently into this new life stirring within you. Let your mind entertain the dreams that reappear. Let your heart respond to the passion returning. Let your spirit adjust to the feeling of movement after seasons of stillness. This awakening is intentional, tender, and strong, and it will carry you into possibilities you once thought were no longer meant for you. You are stepping into renewal, not by force, but by the quiet reactivation of the life inside you that is ready to rise again. Let this truth settle into the deepest spaces where fatigue has lingered. I am rebuilding your strength, not through pressure or force, but through a restoration process that honors every part of what you survived. You have carried seasons that drained you far more than you admitted. You've endured emotional burdens that stretched your spirit and mental battles that left your energy thin. There were times when you functioned through sheer determination even though your inner reserves were nearly empty. You pushed through moments that others couldn't have handled, yet you rarely acknowledged the toll it took on you. Strength, for you, became associated with endurance, with pushing forward, with staying composed even when you were breaking in private. But the strength I rebuild within you is different. It is not rooted in constant survival or relentless effort. It is rooted in renewal, steady, restoring, and sustainable. There are layers within you that have been overworked for years, places where you carried responsibilities that belonged to others, where you took on emotional weight because you feared what would happen if you didn't, where you tried to maintain peace at the cost of your own well-being. I am healing those layers by restoring boundaries where they were blurred, confidence where it was diminished, and clarity where confusion took hold. Your strength will not be rebuilt through exhaustion, but through alignment. I'm helping you see where your energy has been overextended and where it now needs to be preserved. I am guiding you to recognize the difference between what drains you and what nourishes you. This is part of rebuilding, a strengthening that comes with wisdom, not strain. You may struggle at times with the idea of resting, believing that slowing down means you're falling behind or losing momentum. Yet rest is not retreat. It is reconstruction. Your spirit has been carrying tension that accumulated gradually, and releasing it takes time, patience, and gentleness. As your strength rebuilds, you may notice subtle changes, reactions becoming calmer, decisions becoming clearer, emotional stability returning in situations that once overwhelmed you. You may feel more grounded, less easily shaken, more capable of handling challenges without becoming consumed by them. This is not accidental. It is evidence that the internal foundation of your strength is being solidified. You will not return to who you were before the exhaustion. You will rise stronger than before, with resilience shaped by experience and wisdom shaped by endurance. The strength forming within you is not fragile. It is steady and trustworthy. It will support the future you are walking into, enabling you to navigate life with confidence that does not collapse under pressure. Allow yourself to walk through this rebuilding season without rushing the process. Your strength is returning, not as a temporary burst of energy, but as a lasting, anchored force within you that will remain steady through every season ahead. Let this moment envelop you with the gentleness you rarely give yourself. I want you to rest in my love, not to perform for it, not to earn it, not to question it, but simply to receive it in a way that settles your spirit and calms your inner world. You are often so focused on being responsible, being strong, being helpful, being composed, that you forget you are also allowed to simply be held. You carry an unspoken expectation that you must constantly prove your worth, maintain control, or demonstrate resilience. Yet my love invites you into a place where nothing is required of you. My love is not conditional, fragile, or dependent on your ability to remain perfect. It meets you exactly as you are, tired, hopeful, uncertain, healing, growing, and offers you a rest that no amount of striving can produce. There are parts of you that have never truly rested because they've never felt safe enough to let go. You've learned to brace yourself emotionally, to anticipate rejection, to prepare for disappointment, and to stay alert to avoid being hurt. These patterns have helped you survive, but they have also kept you from experiencing the fullness of peace that comes when you allow yourself to be deeply loved without fear. I am not asking you to ignore your pain or deny your past. I am offering a love that gently dissolves the burdens those experiences created. This love is not passive. It actively restores, soothes, strengthens, and reassures. It reminds you that you are not alone, not abandoned, and not unseen. When you rest in my love, you loosen the internal tension that has kept your heart guarded. You allow compassion to reach the places where shame tried to take root. You allow peace to enter the areas where anxiety once dominated. You allow acceptance to quiet the internal critic that tells you you're not enough. My love is not distant or abstract. It is a presence that sits with you in silence, accompanies you through confusion, and comforts you when you feel emotionally raw. It does not demand that you rush healing or hide your vulnerability. It holds you gently and consistently, giving you space to breathe in ways you haven't allowed yourself in a long time. Let yourself experience this rest, not because you've earned it, but because you need it. Let my love soften your defenses, steady your breathing, and remind you that your worth does not fluctuate with your performance or your circumstances. Resting in my love means trusting that you are supported, protected, and cherished even when your confidence wavers. You don't need to solve everything right now. You don't need to push yourself beyond your limits. You don't need to carry the weight of the world alone. For this moment and every moment that follows, you can rest in me, knowing you are fully held and fully loved. Let this truth steady the places where you've questioned my closeness. I am not far off or silent, even in the moments when you strain to hear something, anything, that reassures you. You often assume silence means absence, yet there are depths of communication that happen in ways quieter than words, in movements softer than your expectations, and in nudges that unfold inside your heart rather than through sound. When life becomes loud, when responsibilities and worries occupy your inner world, it becomes easy to believe I have stepped back. But my presence has never withdrawn from you. I remain closer than the rising of your thoughts and more present than the breath you release without noticing. You mistake silence for distance because you've been conditioned to associate love with constant noise, constant reassurance, constant validation. Yet the kind of love I give is not unstable, frantic, or dependent on emotional intensity. It is rooted in constancy, and constancy does not require spectacle. You may walk through seasons where your emotions feel muted, where your spiritual senses feel dulled, and where clarity seems slow to return. But I am still moving, still guiding, still holding your life together in ways that protect you even when you can't feel me doing so. There were times when you expected an immediate answer, a direct sign, or a clear path, and when those didn't arrive in the way you hoped, you questioned whether I was listening. Yet even in those moments, I was preparing your spirit to grow, adjusting your direction gently, and shaping your internal world so you could stand stronger in the chapters ahead. Silence is not my absence. It is often my invitation for you to notice what is shifting beneath the surface. I guide you through intuitive clarity, unexpected peace, discomfort that redirects your steps, and insights that appear right when you need them. These are not random thoughts. They are responses shaped for your good. If you look closely, you will recognize that even when you thought you were navigating alone, something within you always nudged you toward wisdom, patience, or protection. That was me. You were never speaking into an empty void. The quietest seasons often carry the most essential shaping, and I stay near, listening attentively, responding subtly, and guiding faithfully. Allow yourself to trust that my presence is not dependent on what you feel. It is anchored in who I am. I am not far off, not detached, and not silent. I am moving through your life with intentional quietness that strengthens your spirit in ways loud moments never could. Let this truth settle into your heart with assurance. I want you to know my voice with confidence, not as a distant possibility or a fragile guess, but as something you recognize with clarity and familiarity. You've spent so much of your life trying to discern intuition from fear, desire from distraction, and wisdom from uncertainty that you sometimes doubt your ability to hear me at all. Yet your capacity to recognize my voice has always been present. It simply needs room to grow. My voice is not harsh, confusing, or condemning. It does not rush you, pressure you, or shame you. It guides, steadies, clarifies, and strengthens. You often think hearing me requires extraordinary experiences or dramatic moments, yet my communication reaches you through subtle impressions, quiet inner shifts, emotional clarity, and thoughts that carry peace even when they challenge you. These gentle movements inside you are not accidents. They are the threads of my voice weaving direction into your life. You may dismiss them because they don't resemble what you expected divine guidance to look like, but I speak in ways that align with how your spirit learns best, calmly, consistently, and with an understanding of your inner wiring. You have heard my voice more often than you realize. Every moment you felt, warned before stepping into something harmful, every sense of peace when making a decision others questioned, every unexplainable calm in the middle of fear, every inner stirring that guided you toward growth. These were all examples of my voice reaching you. You often confuse my voice with your own thoughts because I speak within your consciousness rather than outside of it. I do not shout over your life. I move through your spirit with precision. As you grow in awareness, you will begin to differentiate the tones of fear from the tones of wisdom, the urgency of anxiety from the steadiness of truth, and the noise of insecurity from the calm of my presence. Recognizing my voice comes not through perfect spiritual performance but through willingness, openness, and time spent in quiet reflection. I am not hiding my voice from you. I am teaching you how to hear with confidence. Let yourself lean into this process without pressure. You are learning, growing, and tuning your heart to a frequency that has always been available to you. You will come to recognize my voice with increasing clarity, and when you do, it will become one of the most grounding and reassuring experiences in your life. Let this truth wash over the places where disappointment made you question whether your prayers still matter. I have not forgotten what you asked for. Not a single request, whispered hope, or tear-filled plea has slipped from my awareness. You have lifted prayers in moments of strength and in moments of desperation. You prayed when you felt hopeful, and you prayed when you feared hope was fading. Some of your requests were formed from clarity, others emerged from confusion or pain. Yet I receive everyone with the same attentiveness and care. The passage of time may have convinced you that certain prayers were ignored or dismissed, but I have been holding each one, evaluating what aligns with your healing, your maturity, and your future. My memory is perfect. What you prayed for at your lowest is still known to me at your highest. What you asked for years ago remains alive in my heart, even if it slipped from your own mind. You may not understand why certain answers have taken longer than you imagined. Part of that delay had been protection, part had been preparation. Not everything you asked for was meant to come in the season you prayed it. Some requests required internal growth so you could carry the blessing without being overwhelmed. Some required external shifts, people, timing, opportunities to come into alignment. Some were answered in ways you didn't immediately recognize because the form of the answer differed from the form of the request. You assumed silence meant denial, yet silence often meant strategy. You assumed delay meant disregard, yet delay often meant safety. I am not indifferent to what you desire. I care deeply about the longings that form in the most genuine places of your heart. Even desires you tucked away because you felt foolish hoping for them again. Those too remain known, held, and considered. Allow yourself to release the belief that unanswered prayers reflect my distance or disappointment. They reflect my understanding. They reflect my desire to give you what will bless you rather than burden you. Even when you thought I had forgotten, I remained active in shaping your path. There will come a time when you look back and recognize that the timing, the pathway, and even the form of the answer carried a wisdom you could not have grasped earlier. What you asked for is not lost. What you hoped for is not discarded. What you prayed for has not been forgotten. It is held, preserved, and unfolding at a pace aligned with your deepest good and your future purpose. Let this truth reach into the places where uncertainty has made you question everything around you. I am working even when you can't see it, shaping outcomes beneath the surface of your life in ways your eyes cannot yet recognize. You often assume that progress is only real when it's visible, measurable, or obvious. Yet some of the most transformative movements occur quietly, unfolding in spaces far beyond your current awareness. There are situations you prayed about that appear unchanged on the outside, relationships that seem stuck, circumstances that look stagnant, and dreams that feel suspended in time. You look at them and wonder if anything is happening at all. But what you cannot see is the intricate work happening behind the curtain, timing being aligned, people being prepared, opportunities being arranged, and your own internal readiness being strengthened. I am orchestrating details with a precision that reveals itself eventually, not instantly. You may feel frustrated by what looks like inactivity, yet there are layers of growth, alignment, and protection being placed around you that require time to mature. Not every blessing is ready to meet you in its fullness, just as not every chapter is meant to open before its foundation is strong. There are seasons where you feel forgotten because nothing external changes, yet your spirit is being prepared in ways you won't fully appreciate until later. You may not notice the mental resilience forming inside you, the emotional clarity taking shape, or the spiritual stability quietly strengthening your inner world. You interpret stillness as stagnation, but stillness is often the space where I do my most intricate work. Think of the moments when you almost made decisions out of fear or desperation. Those pauses that frustrated you actually protected you from choices that would have led to greater confusion. Think of the times you felt rejected or redirected. Those weren't failures, but divine edits guiding you toward alignment. You may not see how small redirections today prevent major heartbreak tomorrow, or how moments of waiting position you perfectly for opportunities arriving at the exact right time. Even now, pieces are moving into place. Conversations you haven't heard yet, people you haven't met yet, and breakthroughs you haven't sensed yet are all being orchestrated. You don't need to monitor every detail. You don't need to force outcomes. You don't need to panic when nothing seems to shift. Just because you can't see the path doesn't mean the path isn't forming. I am working in ways that support the healthiest version of your future, not merely the quickest version. Trust that your life is not idle. Trust that your prayers are not forgotten. Trust that your waiting is not wasted. I am working in silence, working in depth, working with detail, and working with love, even when your eyes cannot yet perceive the unfolding. Let this truth speak into the places where hurt has lingered longer than you ever expected. I am transforming your pain, not dismissing it, not minimizing it, not demanding that you pretend it didn't affect you, but reshaping it into something that will no longer have the power to diminish your future. You carry wounds from experiences you never asked for and burdens from moments you didn't choose. Some of your pain came from loss, some from betrayal, some from disappointment, and some from seasons where you felt stretched beyond the limits of your emotional strength. This pain influenced how you see yourself, how you relate to others, and how you approach opportunities. It shaped your defenses, hardened certain parts of your heart, and led you into self-protection strategies that once kept you safe but now quietly restrict your growth. I see how this pain lives in your memory, how it influences your reactions, and how it resurfaces unexpectedly. I do not fault you for this. I understand every layer of your story, and I know the depth of what you carried alone. Transformation is not forgetting, it is freeing. It allows you to acknowledge what happened without being held hostage by it. You may think healing requires you to understand every detail of your pain, but transformation often begins when you simply allow me to touch the places you've tried to protect, the places you believed were too damaged, too complicated, or too sensitive to revisit. I do not rush this process. I move gently, guiding you toward the emotions you've avoided, showing you the strength beneath your vulnerability, and helping you unlearn the patterns that pain once taught you. You might not notice the transformation at first because it begins internally, through softened reactions, newfound clarity, healthier boundaries, and emotional stability emerging where chaos used to dominate. But as you continue to grow, you will see that what once broke you now equips you. Your pain is being rewritten into wisdom that will guide you. It is being reshaped into compassion that will help you love others with empathy. It is becoming resilience that will steady you through future challenges. The parts of your heart that were once fractured are being rebuilt into a foundation stronger than the one you had before the pain entered. You are not being defined by what happened to you. You are being refined through a transformation that brings depth, maturity, and peace. Let this be your reassurance. Your pain is not the end of your story. It is becoming the ground from which new strength, new clarity, and new identity will rise. And I am guiding you through every step of that transformation. Let this truth relax the tension you've been carrying. I want you to surrender the outcomes, not because your desires are unimportant, but because the pressure you place on yourself to control everything is slowly wearing down your spirit. You often take responsibility for factors far beyond your reach, carrying expectations, timelines, and possibilities as if the entire future depends solely on your ability to perform perfectly. This internal pressure creates anxiety, robs you of peace, and turns hope into a burden. Surrendering the outcomes does not mean abandoning your desires or giving up on what matters to you. It means releasing the belief that you must engineer every detail or predict every possibility. It means trusting that your life unfolds through partnership, not pressure. You do your part by showing up, staying open, and walking in honesty. But the final shape of things rests in hands far steadier than yours. There are dreams you've held tightly because you fear that releasing them even slightly will cause them to disappear. There are concerns you revisit repeatedly because you believe constant monitoring will somehow prevent disappointment. Yet this tight grip only drains you, trapping your heart in fear disguised as responsibility. When you surrender the outcomes, you give yourself permission to breathe again. You allow space for clarity to rise, for peace to settle, and for possibilities to unfold without being constrained by fear. This surrender does not weaken your dreams. It strengthens them by placing them within a framework of wisdom rather than worry. You may resist surrender because you've experienced disappointment before, and you fear that letting go means losing control or risking heartbreak. Yet surrender is not relinquishing power. It is reclaiming peace. When you release the outcome, you place your future in alignment with timing, protection, and direction that exceed your understanding. I am not asking you to detach from desire. I am asking you to detach from fear. To trust that what is meant for you will not slip away. To allow yourself to move freely without gripping tightly to what you cannot control. When you let go of the outcome, you free your heart to experience hope without anxiety, desire without desperation, and dreams without exhaustion. Let this truth settle. You can surrender the outcome and still move toward your purpose. You can surrender the outcome and still work diligently. You can surrender the outcome and still hope boldly. In fact, surrender is what allows you to hope with greater purity. Release the pressure you've carried, the expectations you've placed upon yourself, and the fear that everything rests on your shoulders. I am guiding the outcome, not to restrict you, but to bless you beyond what your limited planning could ever create. Surrender is not loss. It is alignment. It is freedom. And it is the doorway to peace your heart has needed for a long time. Let this truth settle into the parts of you that have quietly tightened over the years. I am softening the hard places in you, not to weaken you, but to free you from the stiffness that formed as a response to pain, disappointment, or unmet expectations. There are areas within your heart that became firm because you had to survive seasons where gentleness felt unsafe. You learned how to shut down certain emotion to keep functioning. You learned how to distance yourself from vulnerability when being open once led to hurt. You learned how to be strong in ways that carried cost. These internal adjustments helped you endure what was too heavy or too confusing at the time, but they were never meant to define your long-term identity. I see the places within you where walls formed gradually, places where you became cautious, defensive, guarded, or emotionally numb. These places do not make you broken, they make you human. Yet you no longer need the same armor that once protected you, and I am inviting you into a season where those hardened layers can soften without threatening your safety. You might notice this softening through emotional cracks that surprise you, the moments when your eyes fill unexpectedly, or when you feel empathy rising in situations you once met with detachment. You might sense it through the uneasiness you feel when responding in old ways that no longer match who you're becoming. You may find yourself longing for deeper connection, more authentic expression, or a gentler inner life, even if you're unsure how to approach those desires. This softening is not a loss of strength. It is the emergence of a stronger, healthier version of you, one that is able to feel without being overwhelmed, to care without collapsing, and to trust without losing discernment. Hardness was a shield you used when softness felt too vulnerable. But now, softness is becoming a sign of healing, not risk. As these internal areas soften, you will begin to notice emotional flexibility returning. room to breathe, room to hope, room to love more freely, room to forgive yourself, room to feel joy more fully. You may fear that letting go of your defense mechanisms will expose you to harm, but I am guiding this process with care, ensuring that whatever softens is simultaneously strengthened with wisdom. You will not be left unguarded. You are being reshaped so that your heart can function in its healthiest form, responsive yet grounded, open yet discerning, hopeful yet steady. Allow yourself to trust this softening. You are not losing yourself. You are reclaiming the parts that had to go quiet for a season, and those parts are ready to live again. Let this truth meet the deepest question you've carried: am I enough? Because I am restoring your sense of worth in ways that rebuild the foundation of how you see yourself. You've been shaped by voices, experiences, and moments that taught you to measure your value through performance, approval, or productivity. These influences made you doubt yourself at times, questioning whether you deserved love, respect, or good things. Some of these doubts developed subtly, through emotional neglect, through being overlooked, through being misunderstood, or through trying so hard for so long without receiving the affirmation your heart needed. I have watched how these moments infiltrated your identity, creating a quiet ache beneath your confidence. But your worth has never been unstable. It has never depended on who accepted you, who rejected you, who noticed you, or who failed to see your value. Your worth is rooted in something far deeper than circumstances or opinions. It is rooted in how I designed you, how I know you, and how I cherish you. Restoration doesn't happen by convincing yourself you're valuable. It happens by removing the lies that convinced you otherwise. As I restore your sense of worth, you will begin to see yourself with clarity rather than distortion. You'll recognize strengths that were always within you: compassion, intelligence, resilience, tenderness, creativity, integrity, and depth. You'll begin noticing that your presence carries weight, your voice carries meaning, and your heart carries significance. You will also begin to separate your identity from your mistakes, realizing that errors do not erase value. Even your seasons of struggle cannot diminish the truth of who you are. In fact, much of the beauty within you was formed through the very battles that once made you doubt yourself. Your worth will become something internal, no longer dependent on the shifting opinions of others. As this restoration takes root, you will stand differently, more confidently, more peacefully, more authentically. You will set healthier boundaries because you will finally believe you deserve respect. You will pursue opportunities that align with your gifts because you will trust your capability. You will embrace healthy relationships because you will know you are worthy of emotional safety and mutual care. And you will release the need to overfunction, over-explain, or over-apologize just to feel accepted. This restoration is not shallow. It reaches into the core of your identity. You will no longer see yourself as lacking or inferior. You will no longer interpret your past through the lens of unworthiness. Your heart will rise with the truth that you were designed intentionally, valued endlessly, and supported deeply. You are worthy not because of what you do, but because of who you are. And that worth is being restored piece by piece until it becomes unshakable. Let this truth breathe into the places where heaviness still lingers. I am cleansing the shame that has clung to you, the shame that attached itself quietly through painful moments, misunderstood situations, or decisions you regret. Shame is not simply guilt. It is the belief that something is wrong with you, that you are flawed in a way that cannot be repaired. You have carried this shame longer than you realize, hidden beneath strength, humor, responsibility, or silence. It shows up in ways you may not immediately recognize: hesitation to speak your needs, fear of disappointing others, reluctance to trust, or feelings of unworthiness that contradict your rational understanding. I see how deeply this shame has shaped you, how it has whispered false narratives into your heart, how it has made you shrink in moments where you were meant to stand confidently. But shame has no rightful place in you. It was never yours to carry. This cleansing is not about revisiting painful memories to punish you. It is about lifting the weight those memories placed on your identity. I am separating your worth from your mistakes, your identity from your past, and your value from the opinions that wounded you. You may have internalized beliefs from moments when others failed you, moments when you weren't protected, moments when you were blamed, moments when your vulnerability was mishandled. Shame grew in those environments, convincing you that you deserved less, that you had to hide to be accepted, or that you were too much or not enough. But what you experienced was not a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their limitations. As I cleanse this shame, you may feel emotions you kept suppressed: sadness, anger, grief, or relief. These emotions are not signs of regression. They are signs of release. Shame cannot cling to a heart that is being healed. You will begin noticing changes, your voice becoming steadier, your choices becoming freer, your relationships becoming healthier. You'll stop apologizing for existing. You'll stop carrying blame that wasn't yours. You'll stop hiding parts of yourself out of fear of judgment. You'll see yourself with compassion rather than criticism. This cleansing washes away the false beliefs that clouded your identity and reveals the truth of who you've always been beneath the weight of shame. You are not defined by what went wrong. You are not marked by the moments you stumbled. You are not diminished by what others failed to understand. You are being washed of shame so you can step into your life without carrying emotional chains that were never meant to follow you. This cleansing is gentle but powerful, quiet but transformative, and by the time it completes its work in you, you will move through the world with a freedom your heart has ached for all along. Let this truth settle into the tension you often carry beneath your calm exterior. I am teaching you to walk in peace, not temporary relief that fades when circumstances shift, but a steady internal peace that remains grounded even when life becomes uncertain. You have spent years learning how to function in pressure, to respond quickly, to manage crises, and to keep moving even when your emotions felt unsettled. But true peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of stability within you that circumstances cannot easily disrupt. You may think peace is something granted only in perfect environments, yet the peace I'm forming in you is different. It grows in real life, where responsibilities are heavy, relationships are complex, and surprises arrive without warning. I am teaching your mind to breathe rather than spiral, teaching your heart to settle rather than brace itself, and teaching your spirit to stand rooted instead of shaken. You may feel at times that peace is distant from you, especially when your thoughts race or when worries loop endlessly in your mind. These experiences do not mean you are failing. They simply reveal where peace is still being shaped inside you. This shaping often begins quietly. You may notice yourself pausing before reacting to situations that once triggered anxiety. You may find clarity rising at moments where confusion usually dominates. You may discover that your emotional storms pass more quickly because something deeper within you is anchoring your responses. This is not accidental. It is peace taking root, one gentle layer at a time. I am softening the internal patterns that once kept you in a state of vigilance, teaching you how to relax in truth rather than brace for the worst. There are areas within your heart that once felt crowded with fear, and I am teaching those areas how to rest. Peace does not mean ignoring reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It means facing them from a place of security instead of panic. As this transformation unfolds, you will learn the difference between instinct-driven fear and wisdom-driven guidance. Fear pushes you, peace guides you. Fear makes you rush, peace helps you discern. Fear imagines loss. Peace reveals stability. I am teaching you to trust that your life is held, that you are not navigating alone, and that you don't need to rely on constant mental effort to protect yourself. Allow yourself to notice the subtle changes forming. Notice how you breathe differently when you release control. Notice how your body relaxes when you remember you are supported. Notice how your thoughts shift when you choose truth over fear's projections. Peace is becoming your new normal, not because your circumstances are perfect, but because your heart is learning to rest in the presence that never leaves you. This peace will grow, strengthen, and sustain you, guiding you into a future where you no longer live at the mercy of internal storms. You will walk in peace because peace is being formed inside you, step by step, breath by breath, with gentleness and purpose. Let this truth reach into the areas where your faith has felt stretched thin. I am strengthening your faith in ways that bring depth, stability, and confidence into the core of who you are. Faith does not grow through perfection. It grows through tension, through questions, through endurance, through honest wrestling with uncertainty. You've had seasons where faith felt easy, moments of clarity, answered prayers, encouraging outcomes. But you've also walked through seasons where faith felt fragile, where silence challenged your assumptions, and where disappointment made you question what your heart once believed so easily. These seasons did not weaken you. They revealed where your faith was ready to expand. Every moment when you questioned, every moment when you doubted, every moment when you struggled to keep going became soil for deeper roots. Strengthened faith is not blind trust. It is informed trust shaped by experience. You have seen yourself survive situations that once terrified you. You have endured losses you didn't know you could bear. You have healed from pain you thought would never loosen its grip. You have learned lessons that reshaped your perspective. Even when you felt unsure of me, I never let go of you. Your faith is growing because your understanding of me is growing, not through fear, but through relationship. Faith becomes stronger when you realize I am unwavering even when you waver, that I stay steady even when you feel overwhelmed, and that I guide you even when you feel like you are walking in the dark. I am strengthening your faith by teaching you to trust beyond what you can control. I am stretching your perspective so you see that uncertainty does not mean danger, that waiting does not mean denial, and that challenges do not mean abandonment. When you lean into me during confusion, your faith gains resilience. When you rely on me during fear, your faith gains courage. When you stay open even after disappointment, your faith gains depth. None of this comes quickly, and it was never meant to. Faith is formed through experience, through reflection, through revelation, and through continuous reminders that you are held even when you cannot see how everything will work out. Allow this strengthening to continue without placing pressure on yourself to feel a certain way. Faith is not always loud or emotional. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, and almost unnoticeable until you look back and realize you are standing in a place of confidence that once felt unreachable. Your faith is not failing. It is maturing. It is becoming something solid, something unshakable, something that will carry you into every chapter ahead with assurance that you are guided, supported, and never left to figure life out alone. Let this truth breathe fresh air into the parts of you that have grown weary. I am rekindling your hope, not through empty promises or unrealistic expectations, but through a renewal that restores your ability to look toward your future without fear. Hope has dimmed for you in certain places, not because you lack desire, but because life has tested your optimism more than you ever anticipated. You've experienced disappointments that made you hesitant to believe again. You've faced delays that made your heart tighten. You've endured relational wounds that made you cautious. You've carried losses that made hope feel fragile. I understand how those experiences shape your perspective. Hope cannot thrive where the heart stays guarded out of survival. But your hope is not gone. It is simply waiting to be revived. Rekindling hope begins with awakening your imagination, allowing you to picture goodness again, possibility again, joy again, connection again. I am gently guiding you toward thoughts that lift you rather than weigh you down. Hope does not require you to ignore reality. It equips you to face reality without losing your sense of possibility. You may feel unsure at first when glimmers of hope begin rising within you. Part of you may question whether believing again will lead to disappointment. Part of you may fear that hope will make you vulnerable. But hope is not a weakness. It is a strength that lifts your gaze and unlocks the resilience within you. Without hope, your spirit becomes stagnant. With hope, your spirit comes alive. As I rekindle your hope, you will notice subtle shifts. You'll catch yourself dreaming again, even if quietly. You'll feel curiosity returning about what your life could become. You'll sense anticipation rising where numbness once lived. These are signs of healing, not foolishness. Let them grow. Let hope expand in the places that felt cold or closed off. Your past does not predict your future. Your pain does not determine your possibilities. Hope is not rooted in what you've lost. It is rooted in what is still possible, in what can be restored, in what can be healed, and in what I am preparing for your life. You are allowed to hope again without bracing for heartbreak. You are allowed to envision better days without fearing disappointment. You are allowed to open your heart to new possibilities without waiting for something to go wrong. I am rekindling your hope so you can step into your future with courage, with expectation, and with a faith that sees beyond what is visible. Hope will become your strength again, and when it does, you will recognize that this rekindling was not you forcing yourself to feel better. It was me breathing life into your spirit in the exact moment you were ready to rise. Let this truth meet you with the steadiness you've long craved. I am stabilizing your emotions, not by silencing them or forcing you to suppress what you feel, but by grounding you so deeply in my presence that your inner world no longer swings so sharply between fear and hope, pressure and peace, clarity and confusion. You have lived through seasons where your emotional landscape felt unpredictable. Days when your strength felt solid and days when even small disruptions sent tremors through your heart. These fluctuations made you question your own stability, wondering if something was wrong with you or if you were failing to manage your feelings properly. But emotional waves are not failures. They are signals of where past wounds, stress patterns, or hidden fears still influence your internal rhythm. I am not frustrated with your emotions. I understand them fully, and I am guiding you toward a steadiness that does not depend on external calm but grows from within. Part of this stabilization begins by helping you understand your emotions instead of fearing them. I am bringing clarity to the moments when your heart feels heavy without explanation, showing you that heaviness often forms from unspoken grief, mental fatigue, or long-held concerns you never had space to address. I am revealing the difference between emotions that warn you and emotions that mislead you, so you can respond instead of react. You will begin recognizing patterns, how certain environments heighten stress, how certain memories trigger anxiety, how certain interactions drain your energy. This awareness is not meant to burden you. It is meant to free you. When you understand where emotions originate, they lose their power to overwhelm you unexpectedly. Stabilization also happens through healing. As unresolved pain surfaces in gentle ways, your reactions become softer rather than explosive. As old fears lose their grip, your heart stops bracing for worst-case scenarios. As your identity becomes more rooted in truth, emotional storms pass through you rather than knock you down. You will notice that your inner world becomes less reactive, more spacious, able to hold tension without collapsing, able to experience joy without suspicion, able to feel sadness without being swallowed by it. You may even find yourself responding to challenges with calm logic where panic once dominated. This internal grounding is not accidental. It is the emergence of emotional maturity built through wisdom, healing, and my steady presence. Let this anchor you. Stabilized emotions do not mean you stop feeling. They mean you stop being controlled by feelings. You will still experience highs and lows, but they will no longer dictate your identity or your direction. You will learn to move through emotions with confidence rather than fear, peace rather than confusion. I am not asking you to hide your heart. I am strengthening it. As this stability forms, you will feel safer in your own skin, more present in your relationships, and more capable of facing life with resilience that grows from within. You are not too emotional, not too sensitive, not too inconsistent. You are evolving into a person whose inner world reflects balance, clarity, and peace, and I am guiding every part of that process. Let this truth soften the tension you carry around broken connections. I am repairing relationships in your life, not only the ones you hope can be restored, but also the relationship you hold with yourself, which has often been strained by self-blame, unmet expectations, or emotional fatigue. You have walked through seasons where relationships felt confusing, unpredictable, or painful. Some connections drifted without explanation, some fractured under pressure, and some ended in ways that left questions lingering in your heart. You've carried grief from people who didn't show up as you needed, from misunderstandings that were never resolved, and from losses you didn't choose. These wounds have shaped the way you trust, communicate, and open your heart. They have made you cautious, even when you longed for closeness. I see these fractures, not to condemn you for them, but to guide you gently into healing. Repair does not always mean restoration in the form you expect. Sometimes I heal relationships by bringing clarity instead of reunion, by giving closure instead of reconciliation, by strengthening boundaries instead of bridging gaps. But I also bring restoration where two hearts are capable of meeting again with honesty, humility, and new understanding. You may be surprised by the conversations that unfold in the coming seasons, moments where truth surfaces gently, where apologies arise naturally, where forgiveness feels possible rather than forced. I am preparing hearts, including yours, for healthier expressions of love, communication, and trust. This preparation may involve softening pride, dissolving old resentments, or revealing your own hurt so it can be addressed rather than buried. Some relationships were never meant to last forever, and letting them go was part of protecting your heart. Yet even in those endings, I am repairing the inner wounds they left behind. You will begin to notice that memories sting less, that triggers lose power, that old wounds no longer define your self-worth. You may feel strength rising in places where you once felt abandoned. You may feel gentleness returning where you once felt hardened. These are signs of deep repair, healing happening in layers you didn't know needed attention. I am also repairing your ability to connect. Past pain taught you to guard yourself, but as healing unfolds, you will find yourself opening in ways that feel safe, intentional, and grounded. You will draw healthier people into your life, individuals capable of mutual respect, emotional maturity, and steady support. These new connections will not replace old wounds. They will rewrite them. You will experience what it feels like to be valued without conditions, to be understood without having to explain everything, to be cherished without fear of loss. Allow this repair to unfold without rushing. Every step is purposeful. Every softening is intentional. Every conversation, shift, or boundary forms part of a greater healing work. I am repairing relationships, not to bring chaos, but to bring harmony, clarity, and connection into your life in ways that honor who you are and who you are becoming. Let this truth speak gently to the parts of you that grew guarded over the years, I am teaching you to love deeply again, not with naivety, not with fear-driven urgency, but with a maturity that flows from healing and wisdom. You have loved in ways that cost you. You've poured yourself into people who didn't know how to receive you, offered loyalty where it wasn't reciprocated, and held space for others while feeling unseen in return. These experiences didn't harden you because you lacked compassion. They hardened you because you weren't protected, understood, or met with the same emotional depth you offered. Over time, your heart learned to protect itself by withdrawing, by being cautious, by expecting less than you deserve, or by avoiding vulnerability altogether. I understand this defensiveness, not as a flaw, but as a strategy your heart developed to survive pain it didn't know how to process. But you are entering a season where love, real love, will no longer feel dangerous. I am guiding you into a deeper understanding of what love truly is: steady, respectful, mutual, and grounded in truth. I am teaching you to recognize the difference between love that drains and love that nourishes, between relationships that rely on your strength and relationships that strengthen you in return. As I heal the wounds beneath your guardedness, your ability to love deeply will return, not as a risk, but as a gift. You will love with clarity instead of confusion, with confidence instead of fear, with healthy boundaries instead of self-abandonment. This renewal of love begins with how you love yourself. I am helping you release harsh self-judgment, forgive your past, and treat your own heart with the gentleness you give others. As you soften toward yourself, you will naturally attract connections that reflect that kindness. You may notice your capacity for affection returning, your desire for closeness, your warmth, your compassion, your ability to trust. These qualities never disappeared. They were simply waiting for safety to return. You do not have to fear vulnerability. You do not have to fear repeating old mistakes. You do not have to fear losing yourself in love again. I am guiding you into relationships where you are seen, valued, and understood. I am teaching you to give love without losing yourself, to receive love without doubting your worth, and to experience love as a partnership rather than a one-sided effort. Let yourself believe that deep love is still possible for you. Not rushed, not forced, not fragile. Deep, steady, mutual love. You are being prepared for it now, and as healing continues to unfold, you will find your heart ready to give and receive love in a way that feels safe, fulfilling, and beautifully aligned with who you truly are. Let this truth settle into the quiet corners of your heart. I am removing what has hindered you, not to disrupt your life or take something precious from you, but to free you from the weight of limitations that have quietly shaped your decisions, your confidence, and your emotional well-being. There are influences you've carried for years, beliefs, fears, habits, attachments, and internal narratives that once served as coping mechanisms but have now become barriers to your growth. You may not have recognized these hindrances because they blended into your daily patterns, becoming so familiar that they felt like part of your personality. Yet familiarity does not equal destiny. I see the invisible ropes wrapped around your potential, the subtle lies that shaped your expectations, the emotional debris that clogged your ability to move freely. Some of these hindrances came from old wounds. Some came from relationships where your voice was overshadowed. Some came from environments that taught you to shrink yourself. And some came from moments when you accepted less than you deserved because you didn't yet know your worth. I am not removing these things to leave you empty. I am clearing space for you to breathe, rise, and move with clarity. As I remove these hindrances, you may feel inner shifts that surprise you. Patterns that once held power over you will start losing their influence. Thoughts that used to keep you stuck will feel less convincing. Emotional heaviness that once felt permanent will begin to lift. This shift may feel unfamiliar at first, even uncomfortable, because you're stepping out of long-established patterns. You might feel a sense of detachment from old behaviors or relationships that no longer align with who you are becoming. You may even question whether you are losing something important when, in truth, you are being freed. As these hindrances fall away, you will find your clarity growing stronger. Your decisions will begin to reflect your true self instead of your fears. Your boundaries will feel more natural. Your energy will stop leaking into places that drain you without return. I am not stripping you of identity. I am peeling away what never belonged to your identity in the first place. Allow yourself to trust this process. You are not losing stability. You are gaining space. You are not losing support. You are gaining direction. You are not losing parts of yourself. You are reclaiming the parts that were buried beneath layers of false expectations and emotional residue. What once hindered you will no longer dictate your choices or diminish your confidence. You will begin to walk with a freedom you forgot was possible, a freedom that empowers you to live authentically, love deeply, and pursue the life aligned with your truest self. I am removing the hindrances not to shake your world apart, but to set your life back into alignment with who you are meant to be. Let this truth awaken your sense of anticipation. I am opening new paths before you, paths you couldn't have discovered on your own, paths you didn't know were possible, paths created specifically for the person you've grown into. You've walked through seasons where your direction felt uncertain, where your progress felt slow, and where you questioned whether anything meaningful was ahead. Those moments did not indicate a lack of purpose. They were part of a preparation that refined your discernment, strengthened your character, and expanded your capacity. Now, as clarity forms, I am guiding you toward opportunities that align with your healing, your gifts, and your future. These paths are not random. They have been unfolding quietly while I shaped you inwardly. You may feel the early signs already, a stirring of desire, an idea that keeps resurfacing, a shift in passion, or a gentle pull toward something new. These are not coincidences. They are invitations. I am guiding you beyond what felt familiar but limiting, into spaces where you can grow without being constrained by old fears or expectations. As these new paths open, you may feel both excitement and hesitation. Change often carries mixed emotions because the unknown challenges the comfort of predictability. But these new paths are not meant to leave you lost. They are meant to lead you into environments where your gifts can flourish. You may notice doors opening that once seemed impossible, connections forming unexpectedly, resources appearing at the right time, opportunities aligning without force. These openings are the result of timing, preparation, and intention converging. You are not being pushed into a future you're unprepared for. You are being ushered into a future you've been slowly shaped to embrace. The skills you gain through struggle, the insights formed through pain, the resilience built through endurance, all of them have prepared you for what comes next. You don't need to strain to find these paths. You only need to remain open, attentive, and willing to take small steps as clarity increases. These paths will expand gradually, revealing direction as you move forward. You are not stepping into uncertainty. You are stepping into alignment. Trust that you are not being led blindly. You are being led purposefully. Every new path I open is designed to bring growth, fulfillment, and peace. You may leave behind old landscapes, but you will not lose yourself. You will find more of yourself. Let yourself be guided with confidence. What is opening now is intentional, tailored, and filled with promise. You are being prepared not only for new paths, but for the new ways you will walk them, with strength, wisdom, and joy. Let this truth strengthen you with quiet confidence. I am equipping you for what's ahead, preparing you internally for opportunities, responsibilities, and blessings that require a deeper version of you, one shaped not by fear or strain, but by wisdom, grounded identity, and emotional maturity. You sometimes look at the future and wonder if you're ready, if you're capable, if you have what it takes. These questions often arise not because you lack potential, but because you can sense growth stirring beneath the surface. You feel the weight of change approaching, and before the outward shift arrives, I prepare the inward foundation. I equip you by strengthening your clarity, refining your discernment, healing old wounds, and expanding your ability to stand grounded instead of overwhelmed. You may feel like you're in a season of stretching, not because something is wrong, but because capacity is increasing within you. You are learning skills, gaining insights, developing emotional resilience, and acquiring spiritual steadiness that will support the future I am leading you into. Some of this equipping comes through experiences you didn't expect, moments where patience was necessary, moments where perseverance became your strength, moments where wisdom had to grow through trial. These moments were not punishments, they were preparation. You learned how to navigate disappointment without losing yourself. You learned how to communicate more honestly. You learned how to set boundaries without guilt. You learned how to endure with grace. These lessons were not random. They were part of the equipping process. I am shaping a version of you capable of handling opportunities with stability, relationships with maturity, and challenges with courage. The future you are stepping into requires the strength I am forming in you now, not through pressure, but through alignment and empowerment. You may not fully see the purpose of this preparation yet, but as new responsibilities arise, you will recognize the wisdom behind every lesson you've walked through. You will find yourself responding to situations with confidence you didn't know you had. You will feel clarity where confusion once dominated. You will make decisions from strength rather than fear. You will step into new roles with a sense of readiness that surprises even you. This equipping is not temporary. It is foundational. I am not preparing you halfway. I am giving you everything you need, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and relationally, to thrive in the paths I am opening. Allow yourself to trust the process, even when the preparation feels subtle or slow. You are not behind. You are not inadequate. You are being equipped with intention, shaped for purpose, and strengthened for the chapters ahead. Nothing is wasted. Everything is contributing to the person you are becoming. And when the next doors open, you will step through them with the quiet certainty of someone who has been thoroughly prepared. Feel this truth rise beneath your uncertainty. I am steadying your steps, guiding you through transitions you don't yet understand but are fully prepared to walk into. You've had seasons where your footing felt uncertain, where every decision felt heavy, where each direction seemed unclear, and where your confidence wavered even though your heart longed to move forward. These moments did not mean you were weak. They meant you were in unfamiliar territory, learning to walk without relying solely on the patterns that once shaped you. I have watched you try to move carefully, trying not to repeat past mistakes, trying to honor your growth, trying to navigate life with wisdom greater than what you felt you had. And even when you doubted your ability to choose correctly, I remained close, ensuring that none of your steps would lead to destruction. You might feel as though you have stumbled at times, but you never fell beyond my reach. I have been aligning your pace with purpose, ensuring that your movements, whether slow, halting, bold, or unsure, lead you toward clarity rather than confusion. There are moments ahead where you will sense your steps becoming more stable, not because circumstances have suddenly simplified, but because the inner work you've been walking through has given you a foundation sturdier than anything you've stood on before. I am strengthening your instincts so you can sense what aligns with your spirit. I am sharpening your discernment so you can see through deception, pressure, or emotional noise. I am calming the internal tremors that once made you second-guess yourself. As your steps steady, you will notice anxiety loosening its grip, decisions becoming less overwhelming, and forward movement no longer feeling like a risk, but a natural expression of who you're becoming. This steadiness will not come through force. It will come through alignment, through the peace forming inside you, and through the confidence that grows as you walk with me rather than ahead of me or far behind me. Let yourself trust the ground beneath you as it strengthens. You are not walking blind. You are not walking unsupported. You are not walking into chaos. Your steps are being guided, safeguarded, and aligned with purpose. Even if you don't see the full map, trust that each step forward is leading you where you're meant to be. You will look back and recognize how even the uncertain steps were steadied by hands you couldn't see but always felt. Your steps are becoming sure because I am making them so, and you will walk with a confidence that reflects not only where you've been, but who you are becoming. Let this truth comfort the places where frustration has grown. I am guarding the seeds you've planted. Every act of kindness, every effort to change, every moment of courage, every prayer whispered through tears, every decision made with trembling hope. You often evaluate your progress by visible results, but seeds do their most important work underground where your eyes cannot witness the process. You've planted seeds through choices to heal, through attempts to trust, through commitments to growth, and through efforts to break old patterns. You may feel as though some seeds have failed because they haven't produced the fruit you expected, yet I have been protecting them from conditions that might have destroyed them before they had the strength to take root. Some seeds needed time. Some needed healing. Some needed the soil of your life to change before they could grow. And some were never meant to sprout in the seasons you wished. They were meant to flourish when your heart, your environment, and your readiness aligned. There have been moments when you questioned whether your efforts mattered at all. You wondered if your inner work was unnoticed, if your attempts to communicate with love were in vain, if your sacrifices were wasted, or if your growth was too slow to make a difference. But I have seen every hidden act, every quiet transformation, every step you took that no one applauded. Nothing you planted has been ignored. Some seeds grew roots before they grew fruit, roots of patience, humility, discernment, resilience, and self-awareness. These invisible roots have been strengthening you for the future you are stepping into. And even the seeds that seemed dormant were never dead. They were protected until the conditions were right for them to spring forth. Allow yourself to trust that nothing has been wasted. None of your efforts will return empty. The seeds you planted in faith, in love, in endurance, in hope, all of them are held, guarded, and nurtured. In the seasons ahead, you will begin to see growth in places you once believed barren. You will see breakthroughs in areas you thought were too damaged. You will see relationships flourish where misunderstanding once lived. You will see dreams sprout where discouragement tried to suffocate them. I am guarding the seeds, not just to preserve them, but to ensure they grow into something strong, meaningful, and beautifully aligned with your purpose. Your harvest will come, and it will reflect everything you've planted with sincerity and courage. Let this truth ignite something inside you. I am calling you into deeper courage, not the kind that requires loud declarations or fearless leaps, but the kind that grows from the quiet conviction that you are capable, supported, and strengthened beyond what your fear tells you. You've shown bravery in many ways, though you rarely give yourself credit for it. You faced disappointments and still chosen to hope. You've walked through uncertainty and still chosen to move. You've endured loss and still chosen to love. These are acts of courage far greater than you've realized. But now, I am calling you into a deeper, more intentional courage, a courage that empowers you to step beyond the limitations you once accepted, to speak truth with confidence, to pursue what aligns with your heart's calling, and to stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. This deeper courage does not require you to eliminate fear. It requires you to stop surrendering your choices to it. Fear will still whisper worst-case scenarios, but courage will teach you to respond with clarity instead of retreat. Courage will strengthen your voice in moments where silence once felt safer. It will push you to set boundaries where you once allowed yourself to be drained. It will guide you to take steps that feel meaningful even when they also feel vulnerable. As your courage deepens, you will begin to break patterns that kept you small, patterns of self-doubt, overthinking, people-pleasing, and emotional hesitation. You will find yourself acting from conviction instead of insecurity, making decisions from truth instead of fear of rejection. This calling into deeper courage is also a calling into authenticity. You will no longer need to hide parts of yourself or dilute your desires. Courage will allow you to show up fully, in relationships, in opportunities, in dreams, in spiritual growth. You will learn that courage is not reckless. It is responsible. It does not destroy stability. It builds it. It does not sabotage wisdom. It strengthens it. Courage will stretch you, but it will not break you. It will reveal the resilience that has been forming within you through every season you survived. Let this calling rise within you without fear. You are not being pushed into something overwhelming. You are being invited into who you were always meant to be. Courage is awakening inside you, and as it grows, it will transform how you walk, how you speak, how you love, and how you live. You are ready for more than you've allowed yourself to believe. And I am standing with you as you step into the deeper courage that has been waiting within you all along. Feel this truth settle into the parts of you that are tired of not having all the answers. I am guiding you through what you don't yet understand, not with vague hopes or distant direction, but with a presence that walks intimately with you through every uncertainty, every shift, every unanswered question. You often feel pressure to make sense of everything, to understand why situations unfolded the way they did, why certain people drifted out of your life, why doors opened only to close again, why some seasons seemed full of promise and others felt painfully quiet. Your mind searches for explanations, your heart seeks reassurance, and your spirit longs for clarity. But understanding is not always granted before movement. Some truths are revealed only as you walk. And right now, you are in a place where your steps must come before your full comprehension. That does not mean you're lost. That does not mean you're unprepared. It means you are being led beyond what your old methods of understanding could hold. I am guiding you through terrain that stretches your trust but strengthens your wisdom. You may sense the discomfort of unfamiliarity, an internal tension that rises when you cannot see the full picture. This tension does not signal danger. It signals growth. I am guiding you through transitions that require deeper listening, gentler pacing, and greater sensitivity to the subtle movements of your spirit. You will notice that what once brought clarity may not provide answers now, not because you failed, but because you've outgrown certain ways of perceiving. I am leading you into higher discernment, where understanding forms from instinct, intuition, and spiritual awareness, not just logic. You might feel unsure because you cannot articulate what's happening inside you, but trust that internal shifts often precede external changes. You are being moved, shaped, and reoriented in ways that will eventually make perfect sense. In this season, you are learning to trust my leading more than your own conclusions. You are learning to walk by faith in a deeper, quieter way, not through dramatic leaps, but through steady steps, each one taken with humility and attentiveness. I am not asking you to pretend you understand everything. I am asking you to trust that you don't have to. I see the full landscape of your life, past, present, and future, and I am guiding you through bends in the path that would confuse you if you saw them from your limited perspective. There are blessings ahead that require this very season of uncertainty to prepare you. There are relationships forming, opportunities aligning, and inner strengths awakening that depend on your willingness to walk even when clarity has not yet arrived. Let yourself breathe into this truth. Confusion does not mean abandonment. Silence does not mean distance. Uncertainty does not mean danger. You are being guided with precision, with tenderness, with foresight you cannot yet comprehend. One day soon, what feels mysterious will become meaningful, and you will look back with gratitude for the guidance that carried you through what you did not understand at the time. Let this truth sink into the places where frustration and weariness have gathered. I am healing the patterns you couldn't break alone, patterns of thought, emotion, reaction, and habit that clung to you even when you desperately wanted to move beyond them. You've wrestled with cycles that repeated in your life, moments where fear overshadowed possibility, where self-doubt interrupted progress, where emotional triggers pulled you into familiar pain, or where you found yourself falling into behaviors that no longer aligned with who you're becoming. These patterns didn't develop because you lacked discipline or desire. They formed from unresolved wounds, old conditioning, survival responses, and emotional memories that shaped your instinct long before you realized it. You've worked hard to confront these patterns, and I have seen every effort, every prayer for change, every attempt to choose differently, every moment of awareness where you caught yourself before falling back. But some patterns are too deeply woven for you to unravel alone, and that is where my healing becomes essential. Healing patterns does not happen by force or shame. It happens through revelation and renewal. I am bringing awareness to the roots of behaviors you once blamed yourself for. I am showing you where fear first attached itself to your decisions, where insecurity whispered into your choices, where loneliness shaped your desires, where old wounds defined your responses, and where emotional exhaustion pushed you into reactions you didn't have the energy to control. As these roots come into light, you will begin to understand yourself with compassion rather than frustration. This understanding softens the grip of old patterns, allowing new pathways to form in your mind and heart. You may already feel the early signs of this healing: an increased calm in familiar triggers, a moment of clarity where confusion once dominated, a softer reaction where intensity used to erupt, a willingness to pause rather than act impulsively. These shifts are not accidents. They are evidence of transformation unfolding beneath the surface. I am rewiring your internal responses, strengthening your emotional resilience, and dissolving the shame that once fueled destructive cycles. You will no longer react out of old wounds. Instead, you will respond from a place of stability and truth. Some patterns will fade slowly. Others will break suddenly. But all of them will shift as healing deepens. You will not return to who you were. You will rise into who you've always been capable of becoming. The cycles that once defined you will lose their power. The triggers that once overwhelmed you will weaken. The internal battles that once drained you will quiet. And the freedom you've longed for, real, sustained, deeply rooted freedom, will take shape within you. You are not failing. You are healing. And I am doing the work you could not do alone. Let this truth expand the possibilities of your future. I am preparing you to receive what you once thought was impossible, realities that felt too distant, too unlikely, or too good for someone else but not for you. You have carried desires in your heart that seemed beyond reach, dreams you quietly dismissed because of past disappointment, and longings you shelved because you believed your story had already been written too deeply in struggle or limitation. You've learned to lower your expectations for the sake of self-protection. You've learned to celebrate others while quietly telling yourself that certain blessings simply weren't meant for you. But those conclusions were shaped by wounds, not truth. What once felt impossible was never impossible to me. It was simply premature for the season you were in. I am preparing you for fulfillment that aligns with who you are now, not who you were when pain shaped your beliefs. There are opportunities forming that will require the emotional readiness you've been developing. There are relationships aligned with the healed version of you, not the hurting version. There are breakthroughs designed for the resilient, wiser, more grounded person you've become. I am not giving you leftovers. I am preparing you for abundance. But abundance cannot rest on a heart still convinced it is unworthy. That is why I have been reshaping your identity, restoring your confidence, healing your wounds, and expanding your vision. Before the blessing comes, the capacity must be built. You may feel a stirring, an inner expectation rising without explanation. This is not fantasy. It is preparation. You will begin noticing opportunities that resonate deeply with your spirit, invitations that align effortlessly with your gifts, and moments where you feel an unusual peace about stepping into something new. This is not coincidence. It is orchestration. I am aligning what you once thought was impossible with the version of you who can now receive it. Dreams that once overwhelmed you will now feel attainable. Blessings that once intimidated you will now feel natural. Responsibilities that once terrified you will now feel aligned. Do not fear the size of what is coming. You are being prepared for it. You will not lose yourself in the blessing. You will find yourself in it. You will recognize that the very things you once thought were out of reach were, in truth, being shaped with your name on them all along. You are stepping into a season where impossibilities dissolve, where long-held desires surface with clarity, and where your life finally begins to reflect the magnitude of what I've placed within you. What you once thought unattainable is drawing near, and you are more ready than you realized to receive it. Let this truth reveal itself gently yet powerfully within you. I am calling you out of the shadows you've learned to live in, those quiet internal corners where you've hidden parts of yourself for protection, for acceptance, or simply because you didn't know where else to place the pieces of your pain. These shadows formed over years, shaped by moments when your voice was ignored, when your heart was misunderstood, when your efforts were unseen, or when your vulnerability was met with something sharper than kindness. Over time, you learned how to step back, how to dim your light, how to manage your presence so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable, or so you wouldn't risk further hurt. You learned how to silence your needs, soften your truth, disguise your disappointment, or pretend you didn't care when you actually cared deeply. These were survival strategies, not failures. They protected you when you lacked the tools, safety, or clarity to navigate the pain. Yet now, those shadows no longer serve your growth. They no longer reflect who you are becoming. You've changed, and what once kept you safe is now keeping you small. Stepping out of the shadows doesn't mean exposing yourself recklessly or abandoning your sense of caution. It means allowing yourself to live fully without being governed by old emotional structures. It means letting your voice rise without rehearsing every word. It means allowing your desires to be acknowledged instead of buried. It means showing up authentically rather than shrinking to fit environments that could never hold the fullness of who you are. As I call you out of these shadows, I am also shining light on the parts of you that have gone dormant. Your boldness, your creativity, your joy, your confidence, your ability to stand firm in truth even when your voice trembles. Every step you take into the light reveals another piece of your identity that has waited too long to breathe freely. This process may feel unfamiliar because shadows once offered you safety. You may feel hesitant, emotionally exposed, or uncertain about how others will respond to the fuller version of you. But you are not stepping out alone. I am walking with you, guiding you with a presence that strengthens rather than overwhelms. As you move forward, you will begin to feel the weight of self-protection lift from your shoulders. You will feel the freedom of living with honesty, without contorting yourself to meet expectations that were never designed for your spirit. You will discover that the world needs the version of you that exists beyond the shadows, the one capable of love, truth, vulnerability, and courage in ways your old environment could not nurture. Allow yourself to rise into visibility within your own life. Allow yourself to be known, not the edited version, but the real one. The shadows did their job, but their time is over. You are being called into light that will warm you, strengthen you, and allow your truest self to stand tall without fear. This is not exposure, it is liberation. And you are ready for it, even if it feels new. Let this truth breathe possibility into the places where hope once felt defeated. I am rewriting the story you thought was over, taking the chapters you assumed were final and transforming them into the foundation of something far more meaningful than you anticipated. You've carried moments in your life that felt like endings, dreams that didn't unfold, relationships that dissolved, opportunities that slipped away, or seasons that left you feeling emptied of direction. These moments etched themselves into your understanding of what your life could become. You tucked away certain desires because you believed the window had closed. You quieted certain ambitions because disappointment taught you to lower your expectations. You stopped praying for certain outcomes because you convinced yourself they were no longer possible or appropriate to hope for. But your story is not finished, and the chapters you mourn were not the conclusion. They were the turning points that prepared you for the version of the future that fits who you truly are. Unfinished stories often masquerade as endings because pain clouds your ability to see the threads still weaving beneath the surface. You walked through heartbreaks that made you feel like restoration was out of reach. You experienced delays that convinced you timing had betrayed you. You face obstacles that made you question whether you had misread your calling altogether. Yet if you look closely at your journey, you'll notice how much growth, wisdom, and transformation took place during these so-called endings. Those seasons developed resilience you didn't once possess. They expanded your empathy, forcing you to see yourself and others with greater compassion. They carved out humility, depth, and emotional clarity, qualities that will shape the beauty and strength of the chapters ahead. As I rewrite your story, you will begin to sense old dreams returning with new shape. Desires you dismissed will come back with greater maturity. Paths you thought were closed will reopen with clearer direction. Opportunities that once felt out of reach will find you when you least expect them. You will discover that nothing lost was wasted. Every ending planted seeds for a future more aligned with your true purpose than your earlier plans could have ever accomplished. You are not going back to what was. You are moving toward what always could have been. The rewriting is already happening through the healing of your identity, the strengthening of your boundaries, the restoration of your confidence, and the renewal of your hope. You may not yet understand how all the pieces will come together, but you will. In time, you will see that the story you once accepted as broken was simply incomplete. I am not rewriting to erase your past, but to reveal its purpose. You will read these next chapters with awe, recognizing that what felt like the end was actually the beginning of a life richer, deeper, and more fulfilling than you ever dared to imagine. Let this truth settle with clarity into the places where confusion once lived. I am teaching you to recognize real peace from temporary relief, so your decisions, relationships, and internal choices are led by wisdom instead of reaction. You've lived through seasons where temporary relief felt like peace, moments where a distraction dulled the ache, where avoidance softened the weight, where shutting down emotions felt like clarity, or where quick fixes brought a brief sense of comfort. But temporary relief fades, leaving your spirit right where it began, unsettled, uncertain, and still longing for real peace. Real peace doesn't disappear when circumstances change. Real peace doesn't dissolve when someone disappoints you. Real peace doesn't require you to numb your feelings or silence your intuition. Real peace settles into your spirit like a quiet certainty, grounding you in truth even when everything around you feels unstable. This distinction is essential because you are entering seasons where decisions must be guided by true peace, not emotional escape. Temporary relief often tempts you because it soothes discomfort quickly. Overthinking lessens, pressure fades where loneliness softens for a moment. But it does not heal. It does not transform. It does not guide you toward your highest path. I am teaching you how to notice the difference. Temporary relief pulls you away from growth, while real peace strengthens you for it. Temporary relief quiets symptoms while real peace addresses roots. Temporary relief lowers your awareness, while real peace heightens your clarity. You will learn to sense the subtle shifts, how your body relaxes differently under real peace, how your mind becomes clearer rather than foggier, how your heart opens instead of closes. As your discernment sharpens, you will no longer confuse emotional numbing with emotional stability. You will stop choosing options that offer relief at the cost of authenticity. You will stop entering relationships that soothe loneliness but hinder growth. You will stop returning to habits that comfort you temporarily but weaken you internally. Instead, you will gravitate toward choices that bring grounding, clarity, and inner stability. You will feel drawn to environments that allow your spirit to breathe. You will pursue paths that feel right, not just easy. You will recognize when something aligns with your purpose, because peace will settle in your chest, not fleeting distraction. This learning process will save you from cycles that once drained you. It will empower you to walk with confidence, knowing when to move forward, when to pause, and when to release what no longer aligns with your highest good. I am not asking you to become emotionless or detached. I am teaching you to live with deeper sensitivity, to know your own spirit so well that you can sense truth from illusion, alignment from avoidance, and peace from temporary escape. This awareness will transform the way you navigate relationships, opportunities, and decisions. Real peace will become your compass, guiding you with a steadiness no external circumstance can shake. Let this truth settle into the tension you've carried for far too long. I am strengthening the boundaries you once felt guilty for setting, because the future I'm shaping for you requires a version of you who no longer apologizes for protecting your peace, your energy, and your emotional well-being. You've spent years learning how to navigate other people's needs, expectations, and disappointments. You've compromised your own stability at times because you feared being seen as unkind, ungrateful, or difficult. You've tolerated situations that drain you simply because walking away felt heavier than staying. You've silenced your discomfort, rationalized mistreatment, minimized your desires, and pushed past your limits because you didn't want to hurt anyone, even when you were hurting yourself. These choices weren't signs of weakness. They were signs of a tender heart that didn't yet understand its own worth. But now, you are being guided into a season where your boundaries will no longer be negotiable, fragile, or conditional on how others react. They are becoming an expression of your healing, your growth, and your wisdom. Setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about ensuring you don't abandon yourself. It's about understanding where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins. I am teaching you how to recognize when your generosity becomes self-betrayal, when your patience becomes exhaustion, when your compassion becomes self-erasure. You will begin to feel an internal strength forming, a quiet confidence rising in moments where you once hesitated. You'll feel the difference between peace and depletion. You'll sense when someone's presence disrupts your emotional equilibrium. And instead of ignoring these signals, you will honor them because they are the language of your healing. You may feel guilt at first, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something new. Something that violates the old patterns that taught you to make yourself small for the sake of keeping the peace. But as you continue, the guilt will fade, replaced by relief, clarity, and a grounded sense of self-respect. Those who are meant to remain in your life will adjust to your growth. Those who cannot honor your boundaries were never meant to hold that level of access to you. Do not fear the shifting. Do not fear the loss. Do not fear the discomfort of others. You are not responsible for managing the emotions of everyone around you. You are responsible for honoring your own heart. And as your boundaries strengthen, your relationships will become healthier, more balanced, and more genuine. You will no longer attract those who feed on your softness. You will attract those who value it, protect it, and reciprocate it. You will stand stronger, speak clearer, and love more freely because you will no longer carry the weight of unspoken resentment or quiet burnout. Your boundaries are becoming a reflection of the healed version of you, and this strength will carry you into every chapter ahead. Let this truth rise within you like a steady flame. I am teaching you to walk with confidence instead of doubt, not confidence rooted in perfection or performance, but confidence grounded in the truth of who you are and the clarity of who you are becoming. For so long, self-doubt has been your automatic response, whispering uncertainty into your decisions, undermining your voice, weakening your steps, and convincing you to question your worth. You doubted your abilities, even when you succeeded. You doubted your intuition, even when it had been right before. You doubted your resilience, even though you survived what others never knew. These doubts weren't born from truth. They were formed from old wounds, past criticism, emotional fatigue, or repeated experiences that taught you to shrink your brilliance. But now, that internal narrative is shifting. You are being taught to walk differently, to move forward not with fear of failure, but with awareness of your strength. Confidence grows as you understand who you are beyond your insecurities. It forms as you recognize your patterns, honor your journey, and allow yourself to trust your own voice again. You will begin to notice subtle changes, moments when you speak without rehearsing every word, times when you make decisions without over-explaining yourself, days when you feel less inclined to compare your pace to others. These shifts are not coincidences. They are the evidence of your inner landscape changing. Confidence is not loud or boastful. It is steady, grounded, and deeply aware of its own value. You are learning that your strengths are not accidents, your gifts are not random, and your intuition is not an unreliable guide. You are learning that your presence carries weight, your perspective holds wisdom, and your life has purpose that continues to unfold. Walking with confidence will require you to release the harsh self-criticism that once limited you. You will need to stop assuming the worst about yourself. Stop expecting failure. Stop rehearsing scenarios of rejection before they happen. Confidence is not delusion. It is alignment with truth. It is recognizing that you are capable, prepared, and worthy of being where you stand. As you grow, you will see that doubt loses its power. It may whisper, but it will not lead. It may linger, but it will not define your path. You will rise above the patterns that once made you second-guess your every step, because you will trust the strength that has been formed in you, the wisdom that has developed, and the guidance that continually surrounds you. Your confidence is emerging, not to make you proud, but to make you free. Let this truth break through the haze that has hovered over your heart. I am clearing the fog around your purpose, unveiling the clarity you've longed for but could never quite grasp. You've spent years trying to understand your direction, sensing that your life carries meaning yet feeling unsure about how to express it. You've walked through seasons where everything felt blurry, where your desires seemed scattered, where your gifts felt underused, where your potential felt present but unreachable. You wondered if you were missing something, if you were behind, or if your purpose had somehow passed you by. But purpose is not a single moment. It is a gradual unfolding, a layering of experiences, insights, strengths, and healing. When the fog lingers, it is not because you are lost. It is because you are still growing into the version of yourself capable of carrying what I intend for you. This fog is beginning to lift. You will start to see pieces of your purpose aligning with greater clarity. You will feel drawn to certain environments, topics, people, or forms of expression that reflect the core of who you are. You will notice that what once drained you no longer holds your interest, and what once intimidated you now sparks curiosity. Purpose rarely arrives in a blaze of revelation. It emerges through consistent alignment, through recognizing what feels right, through understanding where your heart remains steady. I am guiding you into this clarity by shaping your desires, sharpening your sensitivity, and removing the distractions that once clouded your vision. You will find yourself saying no more confidently, not out of fear, but out of discernment. You will find yourself saying yes more freely, not out of pressure, but out of alignment. As the fog clears, you will realize that purpose is not about achieving something impressive or performing for the world. It is about living in harmony with who you truly are. It is about embracing the uniqueness of your journey, allowing your gifts to breathe, and recognizing that the things you naturally gravitate toward are not accidental. Purpose flows from authenticity, and authenticity flows from healing. Everything you've endured, the grief, the disappointment, the endurance, the growth, has shaped you into someone capable of carrying purpose with humility and strength. You are not late. You are not behind. You are emerging right on time. The clarity forming within you will change the way you move, think, and love. It will bring direction to choices that once confused you. It will give meaning to experiences that once felt wasted. And it will anchor you in a future where you no longer wander uncertainly. You walk with intention, confidence, and peace, knowing you are aligned with the path meant for you. Let this truth move gently through your spirit. I am preparing your heart for what you will soon step into, shaping you inwardly so that when the next season arrives, you will not enter it with fear, hesitation, or emotional fragmentation, but with readiness, openness, and a sense of grounded confidence. You've often wondered why your inner world has been shifting so intensely, why old emotions keep resurfacing, why unexpected memories rise at inconvenient times, why you feel the need to rest more deeply, evaluate more honestly, and shed burdens more intentionally. None of this is random. You are being prepared for a future that requires a healed heart, not a guarded one, a courageous spirit, not a weary one, a clear mind, not a conflicted one. What's coming will stretch you into joy, responsibility, connection, and opportunity in ways you didn't expect, and I am ensuring that your heart will not sabotage what is meant to bless you. You may feel moments of internal discomfort as this preparation unfolds. You may find yourself releasing attachments you once clung to, or recognizing truths you used to avoid. You may feel drawn to greater honesty within yourself, letting go of false narratives, outdated fears, or emotional habits that no longer reflect the person you are becoming. Some days, it may feel like you are outgrowing your old self faster than you can understand. Other days, it may feel like nothing is changing at all. But growth rarely announces itself loudly. It moves quietly, reshaping your lens, strengthening your inner resilience, deepening your emotional awareness, and making room for the life awaiting you. Your heart is being prepared to receive more without collapsing under the weight of long-awaited blessings. You are being prepared to handle new relationships with wisdom, new opportunities with discernment, and new responsibilities with balance. You are learning how to feel without being overwhelmed, how to trust without losing yourself, how to hope without fearing disappointment. This preparation is not meant to drain you. It is meant to refine you. When the next chapter begins, you will not be scrambling to catch up emotionally. You will recognize that your heart was being molded for this long before you understood what this was. Allow yourself to embrace the shifts taking place within you. You are not falling apart. You are being aligned. You are not losing stability. You are gaining depth. You are not being emptied. You are being made ready. And when the moment arrives for you to step into the new season forming ahead, you will find that your heart fits it perfectly because it was shaped with intention, care, and foresight. Let this truth breathe deeply into the burdens you've held alone. I am lifting the weight you've carried in silence, the pressure, the responsibility, the emotional strain, the unspoken fears, the quiet battles you rarely articulated to anyone, even when they consumed your energy from the inside out. You have been strong for others in ways that left you exhausted. You've carried concerns you couldn't voice because you didn't want to burden anyone. You've endured seasons of emotional heaviness while pretending everything was fine. You've held yourself together on days when you felt like unraveling, relying on inner reserves you didn't know were depleting. These weights shape how you moved, how you related to others, how you made decisions, and how you saw yourself. But I have never overlooked the quiet heaviness you endured. I know the weight that pressed on your thoughts when no one else was listening. I know the nights you couldn't rest because your mind wouldn't settle. I know the responsibilities that stretched you thin while you kept going anyway. This weight is beginning to lift, not suddenly but steadily. You may notice subtle signs, moments when your chest feels lighter without explanation, moments when clarity returns to thoughts once clouded, moments when anxiety loosens its grip even in familiar triggers. These shifts are not coincidences. They are the release of burdens that were never meant to be yours alone. I am easing the internal pressure, dissolving emotional tension, and removing the invisible expectations you placed upon yourself. You are learning that strength is not measured by how much you can carry. It is measured by your willingness to release what is too heavy. This lifting also involves healing the beliefs that made you feel like you had to carry everything alone. Beliefs that said you couldn't ask for help. Beliefs that said you had to be the strong one. Beliefs that said you had to fix every problem. Beliefs that said vulnerability was dangerous. These beliefs once protected you from disappointment, but now they limit you from experiencing the support, rest, and emotional safety you deserve. As these beliefs unravel, you will find that the weight you carried wasn't just circumstantial. It was emotional residue from old wounds, unattainable expectations, and fears of being misunderstood or abandoned. The weight lifting doesn't mean your life will suddenly be free of responsibility. It means you won't carry responsibility with exhaustion anymore. You will walk with clarity instead of pressure, peace instead of tension, and strength instead of survival mode. You will feel supported, not alone. You will feel steady, not stretched thin. And the parts of you that grew tired from years of silent carrying will finally breathe again. Let this truth reach into the quietest conversations you have with yourself. I am repairing the inner dialogue that has worked against you. Those automatic thoughts that criticized you, doubted you, belittled you, or reminded you of past failures more loudly than present progress. You have lived with an internal voice shaped not by truth but by pain, misunderstanding, fear, and old experiences that taught you to expect disappointment. This voice spoke to you in moments of vulnerability, reinforcing beliefs that were never aligned with your identity. It told you that you weren't enough, that you were too much, that you were behind, that you were unworthy of good things, that you were destined to repeat old patterns, that change was too difficult, or that healing wasn't truly possible for you. This internal dialogue has influenced your choices, weakened your confidence, and distorted your self-perception. But it is not the voice of truth. I am repairing that inner voice by bringing light into the places where lies once grew. You may notice shifts happening already. Moments when you question a negative thought instead of accepting it. Moments when you feel a quiet reassurance rising beneath the old inner criticism. Moments when your self-talk becomes kinder, more patient, more realistic. These are signs of healing, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. The harshness within you is softening. The negativity that once felt automatic is weakening. The fear-based narratives are losing their authority. As this repair continues, your inner dialogue will begin to reflect the truth of who you are: resilient, capable, learning, growing, worthy of love, worthy of rest, worthy of good things, worthy of respect. You will speak to yourself differently, not with self-deception or inflated confidence, but with honesty, compassion, and courage. You will stop interpreting uncertainty as failure. You will stop interpreting imperfections as flaws. You will stop interpreting mistakes as identity. Your mind will become a safer place for your heart to live in. This new inner dialogue will not only change how you see yourself, it will change how you move through life. Decisions will feel less overwhelming. Relationships will feel healthier. Opportunities will feel more attainable. Emotional triggers will lose their power. And you will begin to trust yourself, something that healing makes possible and self-condemnation makes impossible. You are not becoming someone new. You are uncovering the voice that was always meant to guide you, steady, calm, grounded, and aligned with truth. And as this transformation deepens, you will no longer battle against your own thoughts. You will partner with them, shaping a future built on clarity rather than internal conflict. Let this truth rest gently over the turbulence you often hide. I am calming the inner storms that rise without warning, the sudden rushes of anxiety, the emotional swells that feel bigger than the moment, the waves of fear or sadness that seem disconnected from your present reality. These storms have appeared throughout your life not because you are fragile, but because unprocessed experiences, unspoken pressures, and unmet emotional needs have gathered within you like unsettled weather. There were times when you felt stable, only for a surge of emotion to strike without explanation, catching you off guard and making you question your own strength. But nothing within you rises without meaning. These storms were signals, not punishments. They pointed to parts of your heart that longed to be understood, soothed, and healed. And now, I am calming these storms, not by suppressing your emotions, but by healing the origins that once fed them. You may already sense the faint beginnings of this calming. Thoughts that used to spiral now fade more quickly. Emotions that once overwhelmed you now pass with less intensity. Situations that once triggered deep fear now feel less threatening. These shifts are subtle yet powerful, like the quiet settling of wind after a sudden gust. I am steadying your inner landscape so you can live with emotional clarity instead of emotional unpredictability. As this calming continues, your heart will become less reactive and more responsive. You will begin to understand your feelings rather than being swept away by them. You will see patterns that once confused you now making sense. And with each moment of clarity, the storms will lose their power. This calming is not about eliminating emotion. It is about restoring emotional balance. You will still feel deeply, but your feelings will no longer control your decisions or distort your perspective. You will still have vulnerable moments, but vulnerability will no longer feel like danger. You will still face challenges, but your internal storms will not rise with the same force, because the roots that once fed them are being healed. I am replacing fear with awareness, panic with grounding, turmoil with peace. And as this transformation deepens, you will begin to trust your own internal world again, knowing it is no longer a battlefield, but a place where peace can dwell. Let this truth settle into places where hope has felt risky. I am strengthening your capacity to receive good things without fear, teaching you that blessings are not traps, that joy is not a setup for disappointment, and that love is not a doorway to inevitable loss. You have lived through seasons where receiving anything good felt dangerous. Moments of happiness were followed by sudden pain, making you feel like joy could not be trusted. Opportunities came and then vanished, teaching you to brace yourself whenever something promising appeared. People you cared for deeply left unexpectedly, causing you to associate closeness with heartbreak. Over time, fear intertwined with your expectations, making you second-guess even the good that entered your life. This fear was a natural response to accumulated hurt, not a flaw in your character. But now, I am reshaping this internal wiring so that good things no longer feel like emotional threats. Receiving goodness requires a heart that believes it is safe to be blessed, and I am healing the parts of you that have struggled with its safety. You may notice moments when something positive happens, and instead of spiraling into doubt or dread, you find yourself able to breathe and accept it. You may sense a growing confidence that the good in your life is not temporary, not conditional, and not destined to disappear suddenly. These shifts indicate that your heart is learning a new rhythm, a rhythm of trust rather than anticipation of loss. As your capacity expands, you will be able to enjoy blessings without constantly questioning their legitimacy. You will embrace opportunities without assuming failure waits around the corner. You will allow love to enter your life without expecting abandonment as the inevitable outcome. This strengthening also involves removing beliefs that made you feel undeserving. You are not too flawed to receive joy. You are not too broken to receive love. You are not too late, too weary, or too damaged to receive what is meant for you. Your past does not disqualify you from blessings. It prepares you to appreciate them deeply. As your heart heals, it will welcome good things with gratitude, not fear, opening itself without bracing, receiving without bargaining, resting without waiting for something to go wrong. Let this assurance anchor you. I am not giving you blessings that your heart cannot hold. I am strengthening your capacity so that when goodness arrives, you receive it fully, joyfully, and confidently, knowing it is safe to keep. Let this truth illuminate the confusion that has weighed heavily on your thoughts. I am bringing clarity to the questions that have troubled you. Questions about your path, your relationships, your identity, your future, and the decisions that have left you uncertain. You've carried these questions for a long time, often feeling like you were navigating through fog, unable to see what was right in front of you. You wondered if you were making the right choices, if you were aligned with your purpose, if you were misreading signals, or if you were missing something essential. The weight of uncertainty at times made you feel scattered, pressured, or emotionally stuck. Yet even in your confusion, you continued to seek truth with sincerity, and that posture of seeking has prepared you for the clarity that is now coming. Clarity does not always arrive as a sudden revelation. Often, it comes as a series of gentle realizations that begin to connect like pieces of a puzzle. You will notice certain thoughts becoming more consistent, certain desires growing stronger, and certain doubts losing their grip. You will feel a shift in your intuition, subtle but unmistakable, directing you toward what aligns with your spirit and away from what drains it. Questions that once filled your mind with tension will begin to loosen, not because you have every answer immediately, but because you finally sense the direction where answers lie. Your heart will feel more grounded in truth, even if not every detail is visible yet. This clarity will affect many areas of your life. You will see people more accurately, not through rose-colored hopes or fear-based assumptions, but through the lens of discernment. You will recognize which connections bring peace, which ones stir confusion, and which ones no longer belong in your life. You will understand yourself better, your needs, your strengths, your triggers, your desires. You will navigate decisions with increased stability, without looping endlessly in indecision fueled by fear. And you will interpret your past with compassion rather than self-blame, seeing patterns that once overwhelmed you now revealing wisdom. I am bringing clarity not to burden you with responsibility, but to free you from confusion. When clarity comes, so does peace. When clarity comes, fear shrinks. When clarity comes, your steps feel purposeful, not pressured. And as this clarity continues to unfold, you will find yourself moving through life with a sense of direction that feels natural, steady, and deeply anchored in truth. Let this truth reach into the reflexes you no longer notice. I am bringing healing to the parts of you that still flinch, the parts that tighten when someone raises their voice, the parts that expect disappointment even in calm moments, the parts that brace emotionally when nothing is actually wrong, the parts that shrink inward when someone gets close. These reflexes are not signs of weakness. They are remnants of old wounds that taught your nervous system to anticipate pain long before it arrives. You learned to flinch because life exposed you to moments that were too intense, too abrupt, too unfair, or too lonely for your heart to process at the time. These instinctive reactions protected you then, but they no longer reflect the person you are becoming. They don't align with the stability, safety, and clarity I am building within you. And now, I am healing these places, not through force, but through gentle restoration that transforms your instinctive responses from fear into trust, from guardedness into openness, from bracing into breathing again. This healing will unfold subtly at first. You may notice that certain interactions that once triggered anxiety now leave you surprisingly calm. A tone of voice that once felt threatening may suddenly feel neutral. A moment of vulnerability may not send your heart racing the way it used to. These small shifts are evidence that the deeper layers within you are being rewritten. As emotional reflexes change, your body will learn that it no longer needs to anticipate harm. Your mind will stop replaying old scenarios as if they are still happening. Your heart will stop assuming that connection automatically leads to hurt. You will stop flinching inward at love, affection, opportunity, correction, or closeness. Healing these reflexes does not mean forgetting the past. It means releasing the past so it no longer governs your present. This transformation will also expand your emotional capacity. You will be able to receive kindness without questioning motives. You will share your thoughts without rehearsing every word. You will engage in conversations without fearing misinterpretation. You will allow yourself to be touched, encouraged, supported, and seen without retreating into emotional distance. Slowly, you will begin to trust your own ability to interpret situations, respond with grounded clarity, and remain open even when vulnerability feels uncomfortable. And as the flinch fades, you will feel safer inside your own body, more anchored in your own spirit, and more present in your own life. This healing is not just emotional, it is physical, mental, and spiritual. I am calming the reflexes that fear once conditioned into you, replacing them with responses rooted in truth, safety, and stability. You are not fragile. You are healing. And soon, the places that once flinched will become the places that flourish. Let this truth settle into your longing for clarity. I am aligning your life with timing that will not fail you, timing that protects you from premature burdens, timing that guards you from rushed decisions, timing that allows blessings to mature fully before they reach your hands, timing that honors both your capacity and your calling. You have spent years fighting the tension between waiting and wanting, feeling both the urgency for change and the uncertainty of when that change would come. At times, you wondered if you were delayed, overlooked, or somehow falling behind. You questioned whether you missed opportunities or misinterpreted signals. You worried that the timing of your life was off balance. But timing is not your responsibility. Alignment is. And I am aligning everything with precision. Not too early, not too late, but exactly when you are ready to sustain what is coming. You may not realize how much timing protects you. Had certain relationships formed earlier, they would have damaged you instead of supporting you. And certain opportunities opened in past seasons, anxiety, insecurity, or emotional instability would have made them overwhelming. And certain dreams unfolded before your healing progressed, they would have added pressure rather than joy. My timing is not a barrier. It is a safeguard. It ensures that nothing arrives in your life half-formed or fragile. It ensures that blessings are not burdens. It ensures that what comes to you enhances your life instead of fracturing it. And while waiting has felt uncomfortable, it has also been strengthening your roots, deepening your character, sharpening your discernment, and preparing your heart for what it once wasn't ready to hold. You will begin to notice alignment revealing itself through ease, not the absence of effort, but the absence of internal resistance. Clarity will rise where confusion once clouded you. Conversations will open doors you didn't have to force. Ideas will flow with a sense of rightness. Opportunities will arrive with peace rather than pressure. People will enter your life at moments that feel purposeful rather than accidental. You will look back and understand why certain seasons felt slow, because the foundations were being built silently. And you will recognize that what once felt like delay was actually divine alignment, creating a future you could step into without fear. Let yourself trust this timing. You are not waiting aimlessly. You are not drifting. You are not behind. Your life is aligning in ways you cannot yet see, and when everything converges, you will realize that the timing you once questioned was the timing that saved you. I am aligning every step, every connection, every opportunity, and when the moment arrives, you will walk into it with a peace that confirms you are right on time. Let this truth awaken what life once dimmed. I am restoring your ability to dream without limitation, reviving the part of you that once imagined boldly, believed freely, and hoped without fear of disappointment. Over the years, your dreams shifted. Some were lost, some were buried, some were quietly surrendered because life demanded survival more than imagination. You learned to temper your expectations to avoid heartbreak. You learned to settle for manageable visions instead of the ones that ignited your spirit. You convinced yourself that dreaming too big was unrealistic or irresponsible. And yet, avoid looking for work, crimin and grinbed, for new probability. That longing is not foolish. It is the sound of your spirit remembering what it was made for. I am restoring that capacity, not to lead you into fantasy, but to reconnect you with the truth that your life is meant for more than repetition, scarcity, and emotional confinement. Dreams are not childish illusions. They are compass points, revealing what aligns with your soul. When you stopped dreaming, a part of you stopped expanding. When you settled, a part of you stopped breathing fully. But now, those internal landscapes are being reopened. The desires you thought were gone are resurfacing, not as impulsive wishes, but as matured visions shaped by experience, wisdom, and healing. As this restoration unfolds, your dreams will feel different. They will be bolder, yet grounded, larger yet clearer, ambitious yet peaceful. You will notice desires stirring that once felt impossible. You will imagine futures you once thought belonged only to others. You will feel gently drawn toward interests, callings, and possibilities that feel strangely familiar, as if they were waiting for you to return. These dreams will not come from pressure or insecurity. They will rise from alignment. They will reflect the truest version of you, the version that was buried beneath disappointment but never extinguished. Do not fear these dreams. Do not compare them to past outcomes. Do not measure them against old limitations. You are no longer who you were when you stopped dreaming. You are wiser, stronger, more aware, and more grounded. And the dreams forming inside you now are not fragile. They are fortified by everything you survived. I am restoring your ability to dream because your future requires vision. And as your dreams expand, your life will expand with them. You are stepping into a season where nothing within you has to shrink. Dream freely. Dream fully. Dream without limitation. I am with you in every vision that rises. Feel this truth rise within you like a steady awakening. I am leading you into the life you were always meant to live, not the life you settled for out of fear, not the life shaped by past wounds or survival patterns, not the life you accepted because you thought your best days were behind you, but the life that has been quietly forming beneath every season of growth, pain, endurance, and transformation you've walked through. You are arriving at a threshold where who you've been and who you're becoming must finally meet, where old limitations lose their authority, and where the truest expression of your identity begins to take center stage. This life is not built on fantasy or wishful thinking. It is built on alignment with your gifts, your healed heart, your maturing spirit, your clarified purpose, and the wisdom you've gathered through every chapter you survived. You may feel a mixture of excitement and trembling uncertainty, because stepping into a fuller life always feels both familiar and foreign at the same time. It feels like remembering something you've always known yet never fully lived. This life, the one I'm leading you into, requires you to release the version of yourself that was shaped by fear, by scarcity, by self-doubt, by emotional wounds, and by stories that told you to play small. As in the view serve a purpose. They kept you safe when safety felt fragile. They helped you endure seasons where surviving was enough. But they were not meant to lead your future. The life you are stepping into calls for your healed voice, your restored confidence, your renewed imagination, your softened heart, and your strengthened boundaries. It calls for courage, not dramatic leaps but steady willingness. It calls for trust, not blind, but grounded in everything you've learned about yourself and everything you've experienced in my presence. You will not walk into this next chapter by accident. You will walk into it because you are ready, even in the places where you still doubt that readiness. In this life, you will discover dimensions of yourself that you misplaced along the way. Joy that once felt distant will feel attainable. Peace that once felt fragile will become foundational. Love that once felt risky will feel safe. Purpose that once felt blurry will feel natural. Relationships will shift, some ending, some deepening, some arriving fresh and surprising. Opportunities will appear that reflect the alignment of your internal world. Decisions will come more easily because clarity will guide you rather than fear. And above all, you will begin to feel at home within yourself, no longer fighting an internal war between who you want to be and who old wounds told you to be. Do not expect this life to arrive all at once. It will unfold progressively, like dawn rising on a landscape you have never fully seen before. Little by little, you will realize you are no longer reacting from survival. You are choosing from identity. You are no longer bracing for loss. You are preparing for promise. You are no longer shrinking to stay safe. You are rising to live fully. And as you walk, you will notice that every lesson, every tear, every prayer, every breakthrough, every painful release, every slow healing, none of it was wasted. Everything prepared you. You are stepping into a life crafted with intention, fitted to your soul, strengthened by your journey, and illuminated by my guidance. This is the life you were always meant to live, and now, you are finally ready to walk in it. Amen.